It is indeed. It's me and Chunk, and we are live on the road at beautiful Harrah's Cherokee Casino here in Cherokee, North Carolina, live on the 680 The Fan YouTube channel, live on the radio, on your 680 The Fan mobile app, on your in-home smart speaker. So many ways to consume this casino product today. Before we get into some breaking news right off the top of the show, let's all say hello to Charles Oliver.
Hey, Matt.
Hi, Chuck.
Guess what I have in my hot tub?
Tell me.
Hang on, I'm using drugs.
Woo! Wow, that's quite the breaking news. Not what I had in mind, but
It says cocaine here, and Chuck come running.
oh, wow. Chasing the dragon here early? What are we doing? Hi, Chuck.
Hello? No hot tub. No Schedule 2 narcotics. No nothing.
Not this early.
No.
All right, we'll set the scene for you in a moment live at Harrah's Cherokee.
I got water and a protein bar. That's as controversial as I get.
Told you breaking news just announced. Trevor Bauer has signed a contract. Do you want the good news or the bad news?
Always the good news.
Good news is he is not in the NL East.
Okay, bad news-ish.
Bad news, the Dodgers just got better. He has signed a deal to back up that rotation of Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Julio Urias, David Price, who was like an afterthought, and now Trevor Bauer. So if you ever looked up in the dictionary the rich getting richer, this would be it. I have not seen the details. I'll give you numbers coming up in a moment, but the world champ's trying to say, let's back it up and do it again.
Yeah, I would give you an alternate headline. Braves more likely to win division title in 2021. There's another alternate headline. Braves less likely to take it further than that.
Agreed. If we're just like doing the theoretical, we just said right before we came on, if you tell me it's game 4 of the NLCS and it's Bauer against Morton, I'll take my shot. Like Charlie Morton in the playoffs, I have no issue going against anybody. I don't know what the odds in Vegas would say, but we saw a 1-0 game where Bauer lost to the Braves a year ago.
That was chopping wood, man, through extra innings.
But remember, it's not about beating aces a lot of times. It's about outlasting them. That's the playoffs in a nutshell in a lot of cases. So Dodgers on paper will be the heavy favorite, but alas, he's not in the NL East, which is good news for all of us. All right, so we're set up right in front of the book. If you're watching us on the 680 The Fan YouTube channel, all the health and safety protocols being taken care of here for us. The sports book is going to open here any day, which is just music to the ears of somebody who lives as close as we all do to either Harrah's Cherokee location. I passed the Valley River location on the way here. This easy drive, which is beautiful. You're up here in just a couple of hours playing craps, blackjack, poker, and a book right here behind us.
Yep, I came up last night. I was doing the noon gig up here, and it's just a little preview weekend ahead of the Super Bowl. And, I mean, they already got the giant scissors. They got the giant yellow tape and going to cut that ribbon any day now. But like I said, a little preview ahead of the Super Bowl. And we're going to be coming up here about once a month for whatever the big sporting event or reason to be at a sports book would be throughout the calendar. And so this is just the first time.
Now, we'll be unofficially coming up once a month. I have a feeling we'll be up here more than that, which I would invite the listeners as well to join us.
Holler.
All right, I want to get to the Super Bowl stuff and the football here in a minute, but let's start quickly, and I mean quickly, with the basketball. Once we found out Trae Young wasn't going to play last night, let's say it felt a little less important to watch the Hawks and the Jazz. The Hawks lost 112-91. And my biggest takeaway is I'm stunned they got to 91 points. I watched the first half of this game, which was one of the worst halves of basketball by both teams that I've watched in a very long time. The Hawks, I think, had 37 points at the break. I was convinced they would struggle to get to 75. So eventually Utah got hot. I can't get that mad. I had somebody on Twitter send me a tweet who said, Trae or not, regardless, this team isn't getting better. Lloyd's got to go. Folks, it's the easy thing anytime a team loses a game in the regular season, you point to the coach. I wrote back and said, they're 10-11. Considering the injuries, it's pretty understandable that's where they are. And remember, they were 5-16 a year ago at that same point. No Trae last night. No Hunter. Continued to have no Bogdanovich. No Dunn. No Okongwu. What do you want them to do?
A Sunday afternoon Braves game when Freddie was manager.
Well, I don't. What do you want?
Going into it, you're like, we could still win today, but this is going to be uphill.
Against the. What are you going to do? They're playing Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell and Jordan Clarkson. They're outmanned until they start getting bodies back. So we'll see what it looks like Saturday night when the Raptors come into State Farm Arena. Chuck, apparently the discussion about Matt and Julio's future with the Falcons will not go away. And I don't know why.
On a local basis? Because we all know what's what.
No, not on a local basis. So I was tipped off, and you were there when we heard that there was a tweet sent out by a radio host.
Oh, yeah. Yesterday, I saw that.
Yeah, that said something to the effect of, well, the Falcons could now consider trading Matt Ryan. Now, that tweet has since been deleted. I went and double-checked this morning.
Yeah, and you and I didn't bring it up yesterday because
I didn't buy it.
I looked at it as like, I don't understand how that could. Maybe the guy has sources. I don't understand how that's going to be right, though.
Well, it's not going to be right, and for the 50th time, it's been confirmed by, I'll say, a high-level source. His name is Arthur Blank. Take a listen.
We have to establish a running game again. We've had one in the past, not over the last couple of years. And establish a running game, it makes the passing game much easier. It makes your ability to control the game, control the clock, control the tempo of the game. It creates your ability to quote unquote impose your will on the other team.
5.
So without it, it's very hard to do those things, and we haven't had that obviously in the last few years.
No, I think that was Arthur Blank commenting on his role taking over as OC.
Okay, so that was the wrong cut, as you clearly, because Matt introduced it as Arthur Blank talking about Matt and Julio sticking around. That was Arthur Blank essentially saying what I've said and a lot of us have said for a long time. There is a key element missing in the Falcon offense, and that's actually running the football. So Arthur and I are on the same page there because, we're deep thinkers when it comes to the NFL. Now, how about we hear from Arthur Blank, who was on with Andrew Siciliano yesterday talking about the future of Matt and Julio.
Matt can still play at a very high level, and so we expect.
It says 4 first.
Same question was raised regarding Julio Jones, and we expect Julio to be a Falcon, be playing next year at a very high level as well, and God willing, and taking care of his body, his hamstring will be healed up. He'll be able to play in more games than he played last.
5.
But I know he's trying as hard as he can to get back, and he's an athlete and a competitor, and he'll be able to do it.
What gets left out of all of the conversation about how it could work that the Falcons play in 2021 without Matt Ryan on the roster, and I was about to ditch him or just trade him or move on, phrase it however you want to. What's absent every single one of those conversations where someone is explaining how it could happen is that I don't think the Falcons want it to happen. I think they want Matt Ryan here for whoever they draft as a rookie to go,
Totally agree.
all right, this is how to be a pro. And how to read defenses do whatever.
I completely agree.
And they want him here.
When you look at one of the 3 options, if they go quarterback, it's going to be either Fields, Wilson, or Lance. Those guys are all so raw anyway, just from the lack of amount of games they played. And if you're going to go Wilson or Lance, they didn't play at a high level. So there's a lot of value to what you're saying, and that's letting them sit. Be in the quarterback room with Matt Ryan. No pressure on you early. Practice. Get better.
Specifically with that guy.
Learn the playbook, and then in year 2, we'll figure out where we are. So I agree 100%. That talk has just got to go away, and maybe after the source that is Arthur Blank says it, everybody else will follow.
He has input in the room.
Sounds like it, yeah. We're 48 hours away from Super Bowl Sunday. Chiefs still remain a 3-point favorite over the Bucks. You would expect the Super Bowl city right now doesn't exactly have the buzz that, let's say, Miami had a year ago or other cities in the past. I saw some shots of Radio Row where they set the media up where we've been a million times. It is a sparse offering. It is a sad-looking group. There's no guests live. There's very few stations there. I do feel bad, and I make fun of Tampa for being the armpit of Florida. But it's like any other city. When your turn comes up to bat, and you get a Super Bowl and this is the luck of the draw where you don't get the economic boost or the buzz of your city, that blows.
It does. And I said one thing last year that there wasn't a whole lot of conversation about this. A huge, and I mean like beyond sports, Matt, I'm talking about a societal just blessing. Maybe even balancing out the entire history of Atlanta sports is we didn't have the Super Bowl last February. We had it February 2 years ago. Could you imagine? I mean, part of why Miami turned into one of the biggest super spreader hotspots is they had a giant international event where 70,000 people actually sat elbow to elbow for 4 hours. I don't know, 250,000 other people just kind of hung out in Miami for a week. You talk about dodging that bullet.
In normal years, you know what you're spreading in one of these crowds. I mean, God only knows what you're catching. So Tom Brady will start his 10th Super Bowl, which just sounds silly to say. He's doing it at 43 years old. He had a better statistical season than, I will tell you, 28 or 29 other quarterbacks in the league. I don't know how he's doing this. He's figured out a way to beat Father Time. The aging process doesn't seem to work on him. Maybe it's the avocado ice cream. But it is rather shocking considering everybody else in the history of sports outside of Tom Brady and LeBron James age, and they start breaking down.
He's the Jennifer Aniston of quarterbacks.
I just want to say this, because I feel so dumb that in the midst of the steroid era that we were marveling so much at Barry, Sammy, Clemens, and we all just were so caught up in the home runs that we just accepted it. I hope in 10 or 15 years we're not made to look dumb because we find out that somehow Tom was cutting corners, because I'm not telling you he is, but this is the biggest outlier sports has ever seen, that at 43 years old, he's playing at that level. There's no explanation for it at all. None.
And playing well enough to be a Super Bowl champion in another 2 days, and probably
he was a top 5 quarterback this year.
I was going to say second or third in the MVP race.
I mean, there's no explanation.
Aaron's winning it, right?
I would agree, yeah.
Okay.
Mahomes will be up there, but Brady,
second
sure.
or third?
Again, it makes no sense. So
That's unreal, man.
I hope we don't have egg on our face the way we did with the steroid era 10, 15, 20 years from now.
There's avocado ice cream?
Oh, yeah, Tom has it with his TB12 brand.
No.
Oh, it's a big thing. Look, Los is a big fan of the avocado ice cream. He doesn't age like Brady, but it's working for him as well.
Okay. Because you know what I'm on the verge of? Action pants.
Do you know how many times I've been called that? That was my nickname in high school.
Matt.
What's up, Action Pants?
Action Pants Chernoff.
That's exactly right. All right, one last day of some props and some fun, but I'm going to specifically focus on our friends at Prize Picks. Chuck, I've made a couple of plays. I'm going to share them with the class. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Brady under the 21 fantasy points. There'll be a pick or two in the game. He's been pick prone the last couple of weeks.
You lose only 1 point for that, right?
You do. It hurts you with the. But you throw 2 picks, all of a sudden you got to make up for that with another 50 yards or some other kind of play. I'm going to go Mecole over the 7.5 fantasy points. I'm going to go Clyde Edwards-Helaire under the 8 fantasy points. He's just not getting the ball right now. Williams is getting it. Bell is getting it. So they've been divvying up the carry. So that's one of them. The other, Godwin over 5.5 catches. I love. Kelsey over 8.5 catches, I love. And I don't know how you bet against anything with Tyreek Hill. I'll go over the 92.5 yards there.
Godwin is 5.5?
5.5 receptions, yes.
If AB doesn't play?
He looks like he's trending to playing, but Brady loves Godwin, man. That's the one guy that seems to be every week there for him. So we'll see how those work. I also love all the underplays on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he's one of my favorite backs. I just don't know if they're going to deviate from what they've been doing with Williams and Bell enough to give him the carries and the throws out of the backfield.
You are also less likely, if you bet on a Tampa receiver to go over, you're less likely to kind of get submarined by a Tampa back.
Right.
Like vulturing some of your catch. Now, Kansas City, that's different. But with Tampa, it's a lot less likely to happen.
All right, so I've got some numbers on Trevor Bauer. We came on the air and told you the news had just broken. Bauer to the Dodgers. You ready? He gets $102 million for 3 years per source, but he has opt-outs after each of his first 2 years. $40 million in 2021, $45 million in 2022. He will be the highest paid player in baseball history this season and next season. It's an NBA contract.
$85 million for the first 2 years?
That is correct.
Here is the sliding scale of danger for L.A. By God, I'm getting my $85 million worth, and so you pitch him to a nub, and then he activates the final year.
But I don't know. So pitch him to a nub. He's not old. He's very much in his prime. You're going to get 30 starts each year out of him. And he gets another bite at the apple then.
If he pitches 450 innings over the next 2 years, he begs to pitch on 3 days rest.
He might.
All right, so 450 innings over the next 2 years. Who knows what happens in an elbow or a shoulder?
Oh, that's fair, sure. He's only 30, but you're right.
And so, if you really get production out of him, it's going to cost you an additional $20 million just for these 2 years.
Let me add one more element to this.
Holy smokes!
But again, this is an NBA contract. This is a LeBron contract. This is a Kevin Durant contract. Bauer, in my mind, picked the Dodgers because he's quirky and LA's quirky. Bauer in New York could have been a recipe for disaster. And I know it's not the traditional year of 50 beat reporters around you, but the heat that is in that city and Trevor Bauer's eccentric kind of personality, he fits quirky LA.
He may go under the radar.
Yeah,
or just
surfer dudes and stars.
Well, actually, he's UCLA.
He is. He absolutely is.
He and Garrett Cole were on that same staff together. You know who actually is kind of digging this signing in one way. A-Train, because at that number, ain't one person going to go, damn, Alex, why didn't you stay involved?
Was anybody actually thinking they were involved?
Circling.
Monitoring?
Circling.
All right, very good. All right, let's get to our worst idea.
Get ready.
Wow.
Chuck and Chernoff's worst idea.
So you'll be sending your worst idea answers today to the Harrah's Cherokee Casino's Twitter feed. Since we are live here at Harrah's Cherokee, right in front of the book, we want to know the best heater you've ever been on. What's the best heater you've ever had? I won 3,300 one of the first times I ever played craps, which is the worst thing that ever happened to me, because it made me believe that's real. That ain't real.
No.
I've given back probably a lot more through the years, and that was also the time that the table was as hot as I've ever seen a table, and some dude playing next to me is betting big. He walked away with 4 times what I made and says to me, if you would have, pressed your bets, you would have been big. I was about 25. I go, dude, I ain't got the bucks like you do. If I lose what was sitting on that, I'm thrilled with my winnings. I took it and ran.
Yeah, I bet the same way, even at my advanced age. We were in New Orleans. Adam Gillespie was there. You were there. Frank Duffy actually timed it 27 minutes. I threw at Harrah's in New Orleans on that Sunday night before Falcons Saints. 27 minutes.
You should be up 10 grand if you do that.
No, Frank was up about 6 grand. I was up about $600-700.
Oh, no, you weren't doing it right.
I was happy.
Yeah, you weren't.
27 minutes, man. It was like point.
Listen,
point.
A 30-minute run, you better be up more than that. You were doing something wrong. Let me help you tonight.
I hit it, man. It was awesome.
You guys will send your answers. Best heater you've been on to the Harrah's Cherokee Casino's Twitter feed. All right, coming up next, one of our most trusted sources said something about Nick Saban.
He's dumb.
Okay, that's not it. But it's something that all SEC fans who are rooting for the end of the Bama dynasty need to hear next. We're live at Harrah's Cherokee.
Double down.
It's Chuck and Chernoff.
Mama needs a new pair of shoes.
That will be our night tonight. That's how it's going to go. We're right in front of the brand new book that will be opening soon enough. Sports Gambling, not yet available, but will be before you know it here at Harrah's Cherokee. You can book your room, your getaway, or just make it a day trip. Go to harraschcherokee.com to find out about that getaway today. You can watch us on the 680 The Fan YouTube channel. Hello, YouTube. Listen on The Fan, obviously, on the 680 The Fan mobile app, powered by T-Mobile, and also the smart speaker inside your casa. I will remind you, too, to please check out all that great digital content. We just keep giving you new and improved, updated daily digital content. Chuck with the Collector and the Dealer, if you want some memorabilia fun. The college football experience that he gives you with the Chuck Oliver Show 2 hours a day. That's podcasted at your favorite podcast platform. Welcome to Atlanta, along with the Daily 10, which good to see a lot of people are digging into that. Drops every day at 10 a.m. with the biggest sports stories, just kind of on fast forward. The audio fun bag as well. So many offerings. You can get them at thepodcastpark.com. That's all presented by Associated Credit Union or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Coming up in 5 minutes, this league's biggest drama queen is going to do his very best to take away an Atlanta event. We'll talk about that coming up. But first, I've heard it now at least half a dozen times since National Signing Day that Alabama just completed what a lot of the recruiting insiders are calling the best recruiting class in Nick Saban's career. Let that roll around a little bit. Considering the amount of five-star talent, considering the amount of NFL players he's had, that this class
Saban, to me,
is being described as the best in the career of Nick Saban. Now, think of the 3 weeks that Nick Saban and Alabama just had. Won a national championship, won the recruiting championship. So the role just continues for Nick Saban. And there was one source that I love on this is our buddy Rusty Mansell, who was on the show on National Signing Day. And he said something about Nick Saban that sort of made me shake my head, because while I've said the same thing, I didn't consider the length of what we could be talking about. Take a listen.
I mean, Nick Saban, to me, looks like he's got 3 or 4 or 5 more years in him minimum, and maybe even 6 years. I mean, he's so energetic, looks in great shape. He's on a pattern every day. I think he eat oatmeal pie. That's his cheat meal every day, and everything else is healthy for him. And his energy level is incredible for his age and to do what he does.
Now, let me repeat again, just so we're all on the same page. Rusty said 4 years, 5 years, could be 6 more years of Nick Saban. I've kind of echoed the same sentiment for a while of why would that guy consider leaving? He's in great shape. This is the biggest passion in his life. Yes, he loves his wife and the kids and the grandkids and the house on the lake.
And the garden.
But he's got this machine cranked up now, where he is the closer in recruiting, where he can just pick and choose. Well, we lost 2 coaches this year. What should we do? Say hello to Doug Marrone and Bill O'Brien. This happens year after year. But, Chuck, the math on this is, and this is tough math for a lot of people in the conference to digest. If he's there another 5 years, Alabama's going to 4 college football championships, like at least the playoff itself. That's just the history and the math.
That would not be an unusual outcome.
Which means Kirby.
If you said 3.5, I'd go over.
So that means Kirby. That means Jimbo. That means Coach O. That means Dan Mullen. You guys are all battling for the one available spot the other year that Alabama, for whatever reason, slips up somewhere along the way. Kirby Smart, for example, if Nick sticks around 4 or 5 more years, which I think he will, Chuck, you know Kirby will be going into year 9 or 10 at Georgia. And that doesn't reflect anything negative on Kirby if they're not able to complete the mission of winning a title when this juggernaut, this machine, this dynasty is sitting in front of you. That's just buzzard luck about the bad timing of running into that monster year after year.
True, and we have had like D. Gordon, for instance. He's D. Gordon Strange now, is that right? I think he's got a third name.
Huh.
He had like a 4 or 5 year run where, man, he was getting on base just about as much as you could. And then that was kind of his run. Ichiro had what, Matt? About a 15-year run of that?
Yeah.
Like his run ended when he was 43. So everybody, based on physical, whatever your personal body makeup is, and everybody's different, and so capabilities vary. However, there is a range. Because at some point, even Ichiro was like, I can't do this. No matter what kind of great, because Rusty said This good thing, this good thing, this good thing. Rusty also said for his age. Nick Saban has great energy for his age. He does not have great energy for Dan Mullen. At some point, no matter how near the top of that scale you are for 69-year-olds, I think he's 69. And he's probably in the 98th percentile as far as daily energy and I'm sharpness, mental, all. Do you know what? Steve Spurrier went on the record, Matt. He said, I can't see as well out onto the field anymore. As good a coach for about 15 years, Steve Spurrier was as good a coach. And he's like, I physically, because I'm really old now compared to 10 years, he's like, I can't do it. At some point, that's going to happen to Nick Saban.
It is.
Even though he is at the far, far, far end of the scale as far as, like, functional things, like Spurrier said himself, vision,
sure,
but then also mental sharpness, awareness, all that. He's at the exceedingly far end, but even Nick Saban's going to have that time where he goes, wait a minute, we signed a punter?
Maybe. Here's what he's got going for him, though. This all-star coaching staff.
That's supposed to happen.
We just got done talking about Tom Brady.
Yeah, he is the extreme upper end.
And there are exceptions to all these rules. But when you have an all-star coaching staff, you do start doing less and less. You stop being as much of a control freak as you once were. You trust your hiring ability. Folks, the bad news for anybody who's not a Bama fan is this ain't ending anytime soon. And I know what the thought is. You want the Patriot dynasty to end when you're in the midst of it, or the Warrior dynasty, or you want Michael and the Bulls to break up, right? You want Tiger to stop dominating the PGA Tour. I just can't figure out a way it happens anytime over the next 3 or 4 years based on the next class that's coming in, based on the way Saban's got this cranked out. It's unlike something we've ever seen, and it'll end when he's ready to make it end.
And I have said, Matt, especially even like I'll step out of the media role. I'm a guy who went to Auburn, graduated. I send them money every year, so I guess technically I'm a booster. $250. Does that count?
Well, you're not exactly paying the bills, but you're giving back.
That's like a rounding error in the SEC for lunch, isn't it? $250.
It sounds about right.
But I said, I think it was 2 years ago. I said, in my role as alum and fan, I reached the point, too, and you know me, I'm a bottom-line competitor. Figure it out. Go win. I said, I have resigned myself to, I just have to wait for him to leave.
Yeah. For everybody, though. For Kirby.
And by the way.
For Mullen, for all of them.
My coach was 3-4 versus him after the 19 win over Mag. I was like, this is okay. And I understand, big picture, you just got to wait for him to go away.
Yep. All right, coming up in 5 minutes, I need Chuck to enter into this discussion we're going to have with an open mind. Or else this is just going to sound like a tired old LeBron versus Michael debate. So we'll do it in 5 minutes. Speaking, though, of LeBron, he's trying to steal our fun.
Well, you can say that and I guess have it be accurate if you think the All-Star Game is going to be fun. I said about 2-3 weeks ago, I think the All-Star Game is about the last thing we want in Atlanta. And now a lot of NBA players are speaking out, including LeBron James. And man, I got to say, I think LeBron James has more say in a pro league's day-to-day operations than any athlete in history. He's going to get the All-Star Game called off, and I think it'll be the right decision. But this story isn't about those actual details, about, this is about a game. It's about the big picture and the reality that LeBron is NBA Commissioner 1A. And that's not a criticism for all that he does. And I know he's a little emotional and dramatic for folks sometimes, but he also does not use his sway casually. He gets his feelings hurt a little bit when he's not consulted, which that's funny to me because you're an active player for one franchise, and he speaks out, Matt, as if, why wasn't I consulted on this? Because you're a player. However, he has that power, and I'll say he has turned into possibly, as much as I could think of one, the most important player, the most important professional athlete in team sports history. Not Ali, not Tiger, or Bobby Jones, I don't know. But in team sports history, he is as important to what is going on in his league as any athlete ever. And LeBron gets crapped on a whole lot. I don't see him being irresponsible with it.
Well, a couple of things. Number one, you're right that, remember, he led the player mobility charge in the face of Michael didn't leave, and Larry didn't leave, and Magic didn't leave, and LeBron said, I'm going to blaze my own trail and show you why I'm leaving. So that's part one. So, yeah. But then he took his sports powers and now took them to Hollywood and entertainment and content creation.
And what was it? Was the Wish School or what? I got the name wrong, but whatever that school is, where he's like, yeah, I got it all covered.
But here's where, and I'm going to use the word lose. He's going to lose this one. The league doesn't care which players are at the All-Star game or not. All they care about is getting it on the air because it's about the dollars from Turner and the TV deal. Everything I'm reading about this says consistently the same thing. The league, absolutely against the best wishes of the health and medical folks, started the season right before Christmas when they all said, let's wait a month. These are the people who make the medical decisions. But the league said, we got $1 billion to start before Christmas. That's the $1 billion reason. The All-Star game is not about the aesthetics of it, or let's have all this. If LeBron opts out, it'll suck for the league.
He already said he won't.
But they'll carry on with backup All-Stars. It'll be like the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl doesn't give an F who shows up. They just need the game on for the television part of this. There's the reason it's in Atlanta, the Turner Sports connection. And let me add one more thing. Is it a smart idea? I don't know. Balance smart against we have to run a business and make money. All these guys are all going to be flown in private jets. It's not like they're flying on Delta commercial and sitting in 3B between a fat guy from Utah and a mom and two kids from Tennessee. Every health and safety precaution that can be taken will be taken.
We don't say fat.
Large, big boned. Yeah. I think the league's going to do it for the reason that they have to get this game in for the same reason they started December 22nd. All right, so I need you to have an open mind about this for me.
Pertaining to?
All right, I'm coming from a place of vulnerability when I make this argument here.
Well, Matt, you have the talking pillow.
All right, well, here's what I'm going to tell you why. Who is the best coach in NFL history?
Belichick,
just say Belichick.
But Landry.
Yeah, say Belichick.
Does all the crap.
Say Belichick.
Belichick.
Okay.
Landry's damn close.
I'm going to make I think a hell of a case that Andy Reid has been every bit the coach that Bill Belichick has been. But the reason why I would lose this debate if we were on one of those ESPN hot talker screaming shows is...
Oh, because I would yell louder? Because that's how you win,
But you would yell and go, 6 titles! He's only got 1. And the title debate is like the stamp. There's no nuance. There's nothing else. But let me give you Belichick's resume like he needs me to tell it to you. Belichick is 280 and 136. 280 wins, 136 losses in 26 years as a coach. 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 17 division titles, 31 playoff wins, 19 double-digit win seasons. So everything I'm going to say is not to disparage Bill, but it's to prop up Andy Reid. Andy Reid is 221 and 130 in his 22 years as a head coach. He's got a Super Bowl win. He's got 2 appearances, a chance to win his second title on Sunday, and he's taken 2 different teams to the Super Bowl. 10 division titles, 5 in Philly, 5 in Kansas City. That amount of high-level success at 2 different places is just not normal.
And I got to say that from probably 75 to 95, the Chiefs were along for the ride in that division. And then after that, you know what they were? They had some pretty good regular seasons, and they would always die in January.
Of course. Oh, that was the Marty Schottenheimer thing.
That's not what it is anymore.
17 playoff wins for Reid. 15 double-digit winning seasons. 8 in Philly, 7 in Kansas City. And the other case to be made for Andy Reid, because he's been so good in 2 different places.
Retread.
Right? Chuck, he was 130 and 93, which was a .583 winning percentage with the Eagles. That's outstanding.
I would have crapped on that hire here.
He was right now with the Chiefs, he's 91 and 37. He's won 71% of his games in KC. This is the point where I remind you, Bill Belichick's only other location where he coached was Cleveland. He got fired with a losing record after 5 years. And Andy Reid has now been to the playoffs with Donovan McNabb, Jeff Garcia, Michael Vick, Alex Smith, and Patrick Mahomes. He also won games along the way with A.J. Feely, Nick Foles, Chase Daniel, Matt Moore, and what we just saw with Chad Henne in the divisional round against Cleveland, which was enormous. Andy Reid was 92 and 49 with McNabb. He was 50 and 26 with Alex Smith, and he's now 38 and 8 with Patrick Mahomes.
A.J. Feely from Oregon.
Belichick has been to the playoffs with Brady and Vinny Testaverde. Now, he had Brady for 17 or 18 years, so I only say only 2 guys he's been to the playoffs with. Belichick's negatives, and there are very few on his resume because he is considered the greatest of all time. He was 36-44 in Cleveland, and without Tom Brady as his starting quarterback, Bill is just 62-70 overall as a head coach. And he's had 6 losing seasons. Do you want to guess how many losing seasons Andy Reid has had in 22 years? I'll let you try.
4.
3. Andy Reid, again, the titles are going to go, it's Bill. Andy Reid he's phenomenal, incredible, Hall of Fame bound. That dude has done it in so many different ways in 2 different cities. It's as impressive as anything out of Belichick. And Tom Brady is the reason that the Patriots are always going to get the check. How about that as a comparison with Reid and Belichick?
If one of the Hunt brothers had said, guys, I'm going to intervene. We're not making that trade. We're actually going to trade back and acquire picks.
You're talking the Mahomes deal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If one of the Hunt brothers would have stepped in and said, we just can't do it. We've got a quarterback. We went to the playoffs. There is a really good chance that Kansas City would continue to win 10, 11 games for a couple more years.
No doubt.
And they would have gone, maybe as a division champ. Yep. Again, another couple titles maybe. And then Andy Reid would retire, and we would all look at him and went, he always won. You shouldn't have hired him because he could never get over the hump. He always won.
Well, that's how narratives are created, right?
That's what we were saying up to 2 years ago.
Right.
Up to 2 years ago. And he's going to the Hall of Fame now.
But he's always been the great coach, and that's a great way to say it, though, because we're all so shallow.
Yes.
That the championship is the only distinguishing factor we will look at to determine.
How can you say that about his entire career? Because I saw the final score of the game.
In retrospect, and I'm not saying this to be negative on Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb was good. That was the best he was. He was good. Patrick Mahomes is generational, and they took the biggest swing of the bat to move up 17 spots in the draft when they already had a 32-year-old good quarterback in Alex Smith.
Going to the playoffs with.
There's a lot to like about it. All right, I felt vulnerable. I feel better about it now. Thank you. All right, coming up next, Chasing the GOAT requires some crazy seasons out of Los's pet cat over the next decade. We'll talk about that pet cat who wears number 15 for the Chiefs next. there's a pretty good chance that's my life tonight. I'm going to have to choose. I take the hammer. I take the cash. What do I want to do? We'll see how it goes. We're live at Harrah's Cherokee in Cherokee, North Carolina. You can go to harrahscheroke.com to plan your getaway today. You can see us on the 680 The Fan YouTube channel. We're broadcasting live right in front of the book. The new sports book that is not open yet, not live sports wagering yet, but it is coming any day. So prepare yourselves now. We'll be making a lot of getaways here to Harrah's Cherokee. One quick note on Trevor Bauer, who picks the Dodgers and leaves the poor Mets in the dust. Boy, that's Steve Cohen. I bet he hasn't heard no very much in his hedge fund life. So Bauer goes to the Dodgers. 3 years, opt-outs after years 1 and 2, $85 million if he stays for the first 2 years. Before they signed Bauer, the Dodgers were $5 million under the luxury tax threshold at $205 million as a payroll. Now they're at $240 million, $30 million over the threshold, and they still have work to do trying to sign Justin Turner. So the world champs are taking the route of the Warriors, who won a title, and they were like, we'll go over the tax. We want to keep this thing going for as long as we can. 680 The Fan is proud to announce our new official partnership, which we've created to make our offices the most COVID-free and virus-free environment in town thanks to Cleanwell, the official disinfectant and commercial cleaning company of 680 The Fan. Cleanwell is unique with their nanotechnology. It's a great cleaner that disinfects surfaces, kills COVID-19, and protects office and living spaces for more than 30 days. Cleanwell's product is approved by the EPA. It's non-toxic. It's made right here in the US of A. Cleanwell is so trusted that it's the official disinfectant partner of the dogs and the jackets. You can learn more by visiting cleanwellsafe.com.
He's the man that knows the cap bonuses and all of that. He's the one that gets you cut. Front office, so don't give a word. He's the guy who knows the law. Can't put him against the wall. He's the guy with all the answers. Matt and Chuck are backup dancers. Front office knows it all.
All brought to you by Entry Point Doors and Windows. Check them out online, entrypointatlanta.com. Sign up for the free estimate. Your journey of getting new doors and windows will change from there. All right, I've got just a whole bunch of crazy notes on this Super Bowl and a bunch of things that really interest me in terms of what you're chasing with Patrick Mahomes going after Tom Brady and that legacy. But let's start right here. Do you guys remember, because it now feels like it's forever ago, Week 12 in the NFL season, that was the time we had the Chiefs match up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and here's the fun of it. Do y'all remember what happened with Tyreek Hill in that day?
Oh, yeah, the first quarter was historic.
It was insane what occurred. If you want to remember the totals for that day for Tyreek Hill, and this is what you can almost guarantee and say this will not happen again in the Super Bowl because of what they're going to do. Tyreek Hill predominantly had single high safety for the first half of that football game. His numbers, 13 receptions for 269 yards and 3 touchdowns.
It's quite the strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out.
Chuck? I was kind of thinking, unless it's like Ed Reed, not even Palomalu, but like an Ed Reed guy who, all right, he's kind of a corner, could have been. Even Ed Reed, because of the quickness, not the speed, the quickness, the agility, the cut, and all that, it's just a different thing, man.
You cannot do that. No. You cannot play single high safety with that man on the football field.
It's Devonta Smith and that Pete Werner kid giving chase.
Exactly. Can't have that happen. So that's one of the things to watch for. Watch the dual high safeties or a lot of cover 3 to keep them underneath. I would be very surprised if we see any more single high safety. Here's a note from NFL research that I found to be fascinating when you talk about where Tom Brady is in his relation to other greats in the game. So Tom Brady has now taken part in 20 NFL seasons, 10 of which he's gone to the Super Bowl. 50% of the time, he's in the Super Bowl during his seasons. Now, here's the fun part. You realize Michael Jordan made 49.7% of his shots. Babe Ruth got on base 47.4% of the time. Oh. Even the great Cristiano Ronaldo scores a goal in World Cup games at 41% of them. Those are the tops in all these other sports. Tom Brady, 50% of the time, makes it to a Super Bowl. How's that for fun? All right.
It's also it's worth noting one of the seasons lasted one game because he tore his knee up. So you can even give him a better percentage of seasons that were completed.
50 plus at that point. Well, how about this one? You want to talk about playing the quarterback position completely differently on Sunday? Here are the numbers from Next Gen Stats. Again, another one of my really favorite things that the NFL does. So Patrick Mahomes, 23% of the time, his pass attempts comes with him moving. All right, 23% of the time. That is third most in the league. Tom Brady, lowest, 3% of the time. He's moving when he makes a pass. So when you talk about the guy who moves around versus the guy who doesn't, they're skinning the cat differently, but they're both having the same success. One on the move, one without. Now, how about this note as far as legacy? Patrick Mahomes would be the youngest starting quarterback to win multiple Super Bowls if he gets it done. Who would he beat?
Hold on.
Here we go.
Is it a Montana?
Is it a Tom Brady? Yes,
Oh, hell.
Tom Brady. Tom Brady holds that record at
02 and 03?
26 years old.
God.
Versus the guy obviously doing it at 25 years old.
Yeah, he started the season at age 24, turned 25 during this season.
That's so much fun. Now, here's another note on Tom Brady, and again, the legacy that you're chasing. That's the most fascinating aspect of this entire Super Bowl. So Tom Brady is now the first NFL/Major League Baseball/NBA/NHL player to win 2 different titles for 2 different teams after turning 40 if he gets it done.
All right, hold on.
Think about that.
2 different titles
for 2 different teams
after 40.
Post age 40.
All the 4 majors sports you said?
He's the only one if it happens.
Wow.
That's what he's chasing. The only one.
I started the show with this, and I'm gonna for the new audience, let me mention it. Los, I don't want to feel like we're dumb in 10 or 12 years to think, well, how is he doing what nobody else in the history of not just that game, but in sports could figure out to still be elite at 43 years old? Maybe it's the avocado ice cream, or maybe it's TB12, or what was the old buddy of his with the Patriots that he used to have in the locker room that Bill didn't like?
Oh, yeah, kicked him out the trainer.
Alex Guerrero. All I know is there's no explanation for any of this. None. Not a reasonable one.
I will tell you, I've been waiting 13 years because I decided in 2008 when Usain Bolt and Jamaica started piling up gold medals like they were the Eastern Bloc in the 70s. I was like, something's got to be going on, and it's been 13 years, and I ain't heard anything.
All right, so how about this in terms of what you would have to do for Patrick Mahomes to catch Tom Brady? Patrick Mahomes has had the hottest start of any quarterback in NFL history in terms of throwing touchdowns during the first 46 games of his career. He's thrown 114. Give you an example. Dan Marino during that time period where there was no Dan Marino was here's the guy. Dan Marino had 108. So right now Mahomes passed that at 114. But Mahomes, if he was going to catch the number, which is 581 career passing touchdowns, that's what Tom Brady has. If Tom Brady stopped throwing touchdowns entirely today, never again, Mahomes has to average basically 30 touchdown passes a year for the next 16 seasons to catch Tom Brady. Here's the fun part. If he did that, he would pass Tom Brady in 2036 at the age of 41. The nice part is here, though, right now you have the GOAT, and then you have Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is averaging 38 touchdown passes a season, so it is one of the things you move forward saying you're seeing an all-time great, but chasing in that all-time great is wild.
It's one in the making. Now, what would the financials look like if Mahomes is there for another whatever amount of years?
The league gives him an expansion franchise.
It's got to. Because money's not going to be an incentive for him to keep going.
No, when you retire, you get 49% of a franchise.
Here's the other part, Chuck. Let's say by age 30 or 31, he's got 3 or 4 titles. I mean, maybe he's like Brady or Jordan or these guys who just want to keep going, or maybe Michael's a bad example because Michael got his 6 and was still able to keep playing and walked away before coming back. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't imagine any scenario where Mahomes would want to still be doing this at 41.
Your last note for you. Just again, here's how great the chase is. 230 career wins is what Tom Brady has as a quarterback. Now, Patrick Mahomes right now is 38-8. He's basically winning 82% of every game that he starts. It's insane. Yes.
Goodness.
826 is his winning percentage.
This is a video game.
It's the NFL.
But this is what he would have to do. He would have to start all 17 games until he reaches 39 years old in order to catch 230 career wins in the NFL at his current rate.
Let me ask y'all something. This is the big. I just realized this is what I was like. Oh my God, what a record! This is the NFL. A college program goes 8-4. What kind of NC State 8-4?
That's fine. Yeah, that's good enough.
That's fine. 11-5 is the NFL equivalent of 8-4, and it's impossible to. You go 8-4, you're like, you got to improve a little bit. You go 11-5 every year in the NFL, you're like, how in the world are you doing that every year?
But these guys right now, Chuck, are 13-3, 12-4 almost every time out. That's been their career. That's front office Los.
It's going to be a fascinating Super Bowl just from the quarterback perspective. There's no denying that. All right, Los, thank you very much.
See, hang on. The thing is, if you're NC State, for instance, there are 2 games a year where you can overlook the opponent. We talked about it. Why did Bro save his job last year? Because he had NFL teams overlooking them. When you overlook an NFL roster, no matter how much dysfunction, no matter what the record is, no matter how much they treat the football like it's covered with razor blades, if you overlook an NFL team, they can beat you.
Well, it goes to speak to what the Chiefs' season was like. A ton of close games that I don't know that they were overlooking people as much as I think they were waiting until the dance card began in January for them. It was like, we'll do enough in the regular season.
That is dangerous,
but
man.
Teams that can do that whole turning it on thing, which they did just enough to win games, like they're the Golden State Warriors of the NFL if they win this one and then get on this roll that we talk about. All right, coming up next, the dumbest question of 2020.
Do you love me?
Chuck, you asked me that back in 2004, and I told you yes then. The dumbest question of 2020 now has its dumb answer. We'll share it with you guys next. Harrah's Cherokee here in Cherokee, North Carolina, right in front of the beautiful new book, the sports book that will be opening soon enough. The live wagering, sports wagering, not available yet, but it should be coming any day now. It's beautiful. You can see us on the 680 The Fan YouTube channel with the book behind us. It is going to add another great element to this wonderful resort and this property where we will be live doing the show here all afternoon long. Charles Oliver will be our guest for the next segment called college football today. He's got one in 5 minutes. Tease us.
Yeah, I gave you this tease a couple of days ago, and then I got good news about Vince Young in the interim.
I thought you had a 2-day tease. That's a long tease, a deep tease.
But since it's the offseason, it holds. But like I said, I want to give the good Vince Young news. I'm getting even more impressed with an SEC head coach I've always thought did a good job, and even Matt Lana has come around.
All right, we'll talk about that in 5 minutes. The 4 p.m. hour of our show is brought to you by South Point Financial Services. If you're looking to refinance your home or investment property, you need to contact South Point Financial Services now at spfs.com. The breaking news that came right as we were jumping on the air today is Trevor Bauer has inked a deal with the Dodgers, which, I mean, the rich get richer, but it is funny that the Mets were, again, number 2 in one of these big chases. Bauer gets $40 million this season, making him the highest paid player in the game. He'll make $45 million if he opts in for the second season with the Dodgers. And then the third year is a paltry $17 million, which he'll opt out of, I assume, if he's pitching well. The Dodgers go over the luxury tax, but their pitching staff is as scary and deep with Walker Buehler and Clayton Kershaw and now Trevor Bauer. And
there is anybody who's going to get like 34 starts, 33 starts. It's Trevor Bauer. If he's healthy, he'll do it.
Always has gone to the post. All right, so the dumbest question that was asked way back in the spring of 2020, and it really went into the summer. I'll be very honest with the audience that a lot of the media wasn't prepared, the sports media, for not having sports, not having content to chew on every day, because there are a lot of people who are in a business that are just highly dependent on the games. And luckily, our show
last night in the lineup, and why didn't he pinch hit?
Our show has never been dependent on the games. We like talking about the games. We'll do it. We'll do the Monday, Friday game stuff for football, and we'll hit some Hawks for you post game, or we'll hit Braves. We do that stuff. But largely, we can exist in this space where if the games aren't there, we'll still find enough to chew on. But one of the dumb talking points, it even came into our show, was when sports comes back, what'll happen when one of these teams wins a championship? Will it have an asterisk by it, or will it be a tainted title? Well, at the time, we didn't spend a lot of discussion points on it, but I did say, no, it's quite the opposite. My prediction was, I think these championships will be more remembered. Chuck, who won the NBA title in 2011?
Hang on.
Who won it in 2000? No, it doesn't matter. You don't miss the point. Who won it in 2020?
Lakers.
Lakers. So unless it's your team trying to identify a year that somebody won a title, you will forever and ever, amen, know who won the NBA title in 2020, the World Series, the college football
Justin Turner thing afterwards.
Yeah, the college football national championship, and on Sunday, when either the Bucks or the Chiefs are crowned, I will make a great case that all of these champions will have had a harder path than any champion that's ever come before them. In sports, dealing with the injuries is a big stumbling block to getting your team to winning a title. Well, add in the fact that they were dealing with a health scare that nobody's ever seen before and trying to thread a needle with testing and keeping players healthy. Just the mental, worry, the fear of that. You had players opting out. I think it was a dumb question in spring, dumber in the summer, and I would ask you all now, you think the Dodger title was tainted? Do you think the Laker title was tainted?
Not at all.
What about the Bama title?
They had to overcome exactly what everybody else did to win a title, but they actually achieved it all. They actually did overcome all that. There are other examples like that we can remember in sports. Who sang the national anthem in the Falcons-Broncos Super Bowl? Hell, I don't know. Who sang it when we were at war? All right, it was Whitney Houston.
That's exactly right.
But that was more of a just for us thing. It didn't affect the players at all. That was mostly the emotional thing for the country. They were there. I'm here to win a Super Bowl, whether we got troops overseas or not. This is different. This is going to be memorable because it actually was what the players and their families and loved ones and Buster Posey going, I got new twins. I'm not playing.
When the world opens back up and you're playing trivia at your favorite bar or restaurant, there's going to be a point where you get a question of who was the 2018 Super Bowl champion. And it'll take you a minute before you get to it. If I asked you the 2020 world champion, Super Bowl champion, whatever happens Sunday, you'll remember, and it'll be on the tip of your tongue because of the hoops that these teams had to jump through. We're all guilty of being lazy in the media. We're all guilty of taking the easy direction. But that one was one that I just shook my head at. I think winning any title in any scenario is about as difficult a difficult accomplishment that anybody can ever figure out. Now, we get spoiled because Bama wins theirs and they sort of make it look easy every year, or the Patriots won theirs time after time, or dynasties like the Warriors and in other sports. All you have to do is look at cities like ours, cities like Cleveland, cities who have not experienced Chicago before the Cubs, whatever the city is. A championship is the hardest thing to ever accomplish, and for the majority of us, we'll get 1 or 2 or 3 in our whole lives.
Boston is not real.
No, that's an exception. Yep. The Dodgers just had a year with L.A. where the Dodgers and the Lakers won it. Exception. And they happened to win it both in the crazy 2020 year. Well, Chuck, the bubble made it a tainted title. No, it didn't at all. The bubble made it even, I think, a little bit more difficult. No home court advantage, so the lesser seeds, they weren't at a major disadvantage like they would be.
And it's not like the Lakers get extra credit because they, as a if the Lakers or any team had the tragedy, you lost your coach in midseason to some personal tragedy, health, medical, emergency, whatever, and you win a title. My gosh, the story. Look what they overcame. Whoever won a title had to overcome a pandemic.
Amazing, top to bottom. 2020 on Sunday will let out another champion, another finish to a season that carries over into 2021, which is pretty remarkable. Let's get to college football today.
Off his back foot, caught, touchdown! Chuck Oliver's College Football Today, brought to you by Duffy Realty of Atlanta, because money matters.
Good to be the king.
Duffy Realty, ATL.com. Rhonda, you rock. Why? Because she paid me. Basically, $35,000, almost $35,000. Rhonda has paid me versus what an old-fashioned agent would have done. Would have said, I'm keeping all that for me. Rhonda says, nope, sold the house. Here's the money. Duffy Realty, ATL.com, $500 up front, 0.75% at closing. Said I'm getting even more impressed with an SEC head coach that I've always liked, and even Matt Lana has come around. And truthfully, Lane Kiffin is not the same coach or the same guy he was in Knoxville. But wow, what an offensive mind and what a play caller. Two different things. Here is the short version of how he leads. This is something I was thinking about earlier this week, Matt. In a sport where, aggressive young offensive minds are what the game is exclusively about, he's built a dominant offense around Derrick Henry. He's built a dominant offense around Elijah Moore. All right, now let's put some numbers on this. Lane Kiffin built a national championship offense around giving Derrick Henry, a college running back, a college season, giving Derrick Henry the ball 395 times. They even threw it to him 11 times. He kept Ole Miss at least in the fight, based around a wide receiver, about as big as your pinky. Other than Devonta Smith, Elijah Moore was about as consistent and dominant as any receiver in America. And I know it's just scheme. The players have to go out and execute. All of that's true. But you're talking about looking at, all right, what do we got here? Oh, we got a 235-pound tailback? All right, that's what we're going to roll with. We've got a 5'7.5" slot. Okay, we're going to roll with that. Lane Kiffin, like I said, even back in the day at Tennessee, I was like, guys, he led Tennessee to a winning record in a bowl game with Jonathan Crompton. That's something. But he has grown and matured and all that other stuff. But philosophically, he was always really, really good as a play caller. But the offense that he put together in Ole Miss, again, as a byproduct of some of the talent there, he's showing that he really is on the shortest of list of offensive minds in the game.
Chuck Oliver's College Football Today, brought to you by Duffy Realty of Atlanta on the college football voice of the South, 680, The Fan.
So Adam Schefter had some news about 15 minutes ago from ESPN that projected number 1 pick Trevor Lawrence will throw for NFL teams now on February 12th instead of participating in Clemson's Pro Day next month. This is per his representation. After that, Trevor will undergo left labrum shoulder repair. Doctors are confident he will be recovered for camp, but that's at least noteworthy. It's not going to change any draft thought that the Jaguars would have, but something at least to take a peek at with Trevor Lawrence. All right, coming up in 15 minutes, we have a little breakdown of last night's festivities where one person who used to be a major part of this show received a standing ovation. But for what? We'll find out in 15 minutes. Coming up next, though, an unhealthy mentality that is now a reality for Georgia football. we'll share with you guys next.
say I'm pretty fly for a white guy.
It's your friends, your radio friends. Chuck and Chernoff, we're live at Harrah's Cherokee Casino in Cherokee, North Carolina. We're live on our 680 The Fan YouTube channel. I retweeted the 680 The Fan link, but if you want to check that out, if you follow us on all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you will see links from each one where you can see our beautiful smiling faces behind our masks.
You'll be entertained.
I mean, if you saw Chuck's jacket, that's entertainment enough for you, as we're right in front of the brand new sports book here at Harrah's Cherokee. Not open yet. Not live sports wagering just yet. It's coming any day, but you'll get a look at the book behind us as we'll be spending the show here, and then tonight finding our way to some tables to see what kind of fun we can have with this beautiful resort.
And I'm sure that when the book is open, they would love to have Trevor Bauer come here in his off season. My goodness,
he's going to be making $40 million this year.
Goodness.
If you're just tuning in, Bauer inks a deal with the Dodgers. Sorry to the Mets. Bauer gets a 3-year deal, but he has opt-outs after year 1 and 2. If he's still pitching well, he opts out and this is an NBA contract. That's exactly what he's got here, like a LeBron or a Kevin Durant deal.
And if he is injured or has been worn to the nub, he says, yeah, I'll activate that final year. That'd be good. That works for me.
The $17 million is better than nothing if some kind of bad injury situation happens. All right, coming up in less than 10 minutes, we'll break down the events of yesterday and last night here at Harrah's, where one person associated with this show received a standing ovation. I have no idea why. They haven't told me. I'm fascinated. I'm looking at Adam Gillespie, our engineer, just laughing. I cannot even imagine the tale that will be told coming up here in less than 10 minutes, so stick around for that. But first, Chuck says this is a very unhealthy mentality that now is a reality for a lot of Georgia fans.
It really is. And the Georgia program has achieved an elite status that I don't think Kirby wants any part of, at least not yet. Wednesday, Matt, I realized that I had just sort of casually, when talking about something completely different, I had casually identified Georgia as a team that, quote, isn't really in a division or a conference anymore. And I said, just like Clemson and Bama, Ohio State. The idea behind that is that there is nothing about the SEC East or even the SEC that is going to let a Georgia fan or Kirby or anybody check the box of, all right, successful. And when I say that they're not really in divisions or conferences anymore, that part's true. Okay, the second part is not, just like the others, because the others got that status by winning a title. Georgia got that status by instantly becoming really, really good and getting into the playoffs and overtime and coming as close to winning as you possibly can. And then I think in 2018, coming as close to getting into the playoffs without as you can. So I think that suddenly the focus, after 2018, the focus was, yeah, the division or the title, that is only a step to the bigger goal here. If a 2-loss Georgia does win the SEC title game, but it's some sort of like weird season with an undefeated Oregon and Notre Dame, whatever, and so a 2-loss Georgia gets into the SEC title game, wins, but then somehow is not given a playoff seed, Georgia fans aren't going to be too jazzed about an SEC championship hoodie or bumper sticker or anything else. That's not what that program's about anymore. And the only way you're supposed to get there is as a result of, well, we got expectations through the roof, but it did come after we won a title. Georgia somehow got there without it.
Well, they got everything but the title. I mean, we said this at the time, and
it's not healthy.
Well, it's not healthy, but it's a sports fan's reality. When you're that close, that early in a coach's tenure, when he recruits at such an elite level, you're naturally going to put the pieces together that it sucks that we just gave away an opportunity to win a natty, but we'll get another one soon enough. And I remember telling Brian Hoyt, he claimed he wasn't as broken up because we're going to get one soon enough. I said, I mean, that stuff is so hard, and the breaks you need and the luck and the injuries to say we'll get one soon enough, especially when you have the greatest challenge in the history of college football standing in your way by the name of Nick Saban. But back to your point, had Georgia held on and won that title, everything that would have followed, no matter let's say the results are exactly the same right now, it would have just been, that's fine. We'll get back there again because we've already got one. But because you were so close and you thought for sure in the next couple of years you'd be back in that position again, you haven't been there just yet because it's so damn hard to get back there. But you should have that expectation. You should think, what's the SEC East mean? Now, it's the first step along the journey, but that doesn't mean
nothing.
What does the SEC title, relatively speaking, mean other than it's the entry into the playoff? It's not even you're celebrating the title. You're celebrating, all right, now we're in the playoff.
It's the quarterfinal.
Exactly right. It's again, it's a harsh reality, but it's also a great place to be. Ohio State doesn't celebrate winning. What are they in the Legends of the Leaders?
They moved on.
That, I know. But there's a reason they don't celebrate that. There's a reason Bama won't celebrate a SEC West. Now, they have titles, so it's still a little difference, but Georgia should think like this. I always thought it was a sort of a weird place to be when Mark Richt came in after Georgia had some rocky times. And we love Coach Donnan to death, but you know what I mean, where they started to celebrate an SEC East championship and then an SEC title because they hadn't been in that spot. Now they've been in those spots and realized, yes, it's difficult, but this is not what a Georgia fan wants to brag about. They want to brag about what Bama fans brag about or the Ohio State fan brags about. They want to get there.
Oh, yeah, if Lane Kiffin gets Ole Miss to a couple of SEC championship games, I mean, it's nirvana and we're eating ambrosia. And then, well, wait a minute. We went 9-3. I guess we plateaued with Coach Kiffin. We need to move on. It happened to a lesser degree. That happened with David Cutcliffe.
I'll also use Missouri as that example. Missouri should have been a pig in slop going back-to-back years, right, representing that new to the SEC East, representing the conference. It's a very big deal. But, yeah, in some cases it elevates unrealistic expectations that you can sustain it. Georgia fans know better. They know they can sustain that very high level. That's why this year is an example of, even with the uneven quarterback play, a season that no Georgia fan would have predicted Florida passing them by this past year. Have they passed them by consistently? No.
And see, I don't think the disappointment wasn't anything about not winning the East or even the conference. It was what that did to you being a playoff team.
Oh, no question. But that's where the focus is, and I get it. I understand that. That's the focus you should have when this is all said and done. Piece of news came in earlier this afternoon. It looks like old friend Mike Fultonevich, Fulty as we lovingly referred to him, is going to be headed to the Texas Rangers. It's not official, but it looks like he's about to sign a one-year deal to have a chance to make that roster in the American League.
He was DFA'd, is that right? So that means he can sign with anybody?
Yep. I wish him luck. He is one of those guys that will go down as a tease. A Game 2 against the Cardinals that was unbelievable, and then a Game 5 that is utterly forgettable. Great runs in a regular season for 3 or 4 starts where he looked unhittable, and then 3 or 4 starts where he couldn't get out of the second or third inning, and his pitch count would be at 85 or 90. So that to me, though, Fulty comes along with a rebuild. You're going to get some of that stuff right. You're going to get a lot of it wrong. They got some of him right. He had an all-star appearance in a playoff moment, but on the whole, it wasn't.
Do you know what the number is? The money?
I have not seen. I think it's $2 million, I believe, if he makes the major league roster. Let me see.
You know what? Obviously, the Braves.
It's a 1-year major league guaranteed deal.
So he's getting paid then?
Yeah, I think it's $1 million or a couple of million. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll find out the exact numbers.
1 year, $2 million for a veteran pitcher, if that's what it is. Outside of the Braves, because the whole point was changes. It's not working for us or you. Other than the Braves, there's not a single major league team, including the Yankees or Dodgers or Padres. $2 million to bring that guy in?
Yeah, roll the dice.
Hell yes.
Yeah. The 4 p.m. hour of our show is brought to you by South Point Financial Services. If you're looking to refinance your home or investment property, you need to contact South Point Financial Services at spfs.com.
It's time for Guy Talk.
Hi, Matt. Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Los.
It's good to be part of the broadcast again.
Fancy seeing a guy like you in a joint like this.
I look good on YouTube. All right. So I wanted to bring up a particular aspect of something running around this particular casino. One guy that we used to know quite well, I believe he used to work with us, Hoyt.
I remember him. I remember him well. He was the technical director of the program.
I would say this. There was one person as part of our entire Dickey Broadcasting team that got a standing ovation last night. It was one Brian Hoyt.
I can't. Now, is this like a multiple choice? Because I'm trying to figure out one area where he would deserve a standing ovation.
So let me start off with what happens here. And this is also going to be a good representation of what's available to you. When you come out here, the golf course is outstanding. Chuck, this would be the kind of golf course that I think would really play well to people like you that, like, I don't want to just hammer it around the course. Like, everything is like 200 yards, dog leg left, dog leg right.
Okay, so it's not an executive course, but it's sort of the same idea as a par 3 that.
Well, it's like this. And
using the driver a lot.
No, when you get out to Sequoia, you go up on a mountaintop, basically, and you are playing golf coming down the mountain the entire time. So as you would imagine, a little bit too far to the right, it's on the mountain. A little bit too far to the left, it's down the mountain. And it's still 500 yards on these. It just has a lot of twists and turns.
I used to experience that at a place called Mount Tasia.
200 feet down the valley as soon as you hit it down there. It was incredible.
And it always matters who's driving the cart on that hole.
Absolutely. So I bring that up as one of the most fun things that we got a chance to do before making our way back over onto the property. Hoyt has never lost to me playing golf, ever. Like, he's always beaten me because Hoyt's driver ends up being the thing that carries the day.
He cheats.
And he cheats, of course. Yes, he's got his driver lubed up with Vaseline. All sorts of stuff.
And it's like playing with Odd Job.
Yeah, basically he's carrying chapstick, not because his lips are chapped, but he's got to put it all over his driver. That's what he does.
Put snot on the ball.
I would if I guess I needed that extra or lack of rotation. So the driver was nullified. We were playing around the course. Now, as we get to like 11 or 12, something changed. We have played in the past with shot mulligans, which would be, and we hadn't had any at that, we weren't playing that day with it. A shot mulligan is if I hit an errant shot, if I can then take a shot of whatever we're carrying, and I can regain the shot.
Oh, okay. That becomes a losing game pretty quickly.
Yes, because the first thing that starts to go is your hands, and then your mentality, and then your ability to play. Well, Hoyt,
you got about 3 mulligans where it's still in your favor.
Still okay, right.
And then somebody just pushes the entire thing off the cliff.
So, as we get to 11, he decides, I'm trailing by like 3 shots, I need shot mulligans. So, suddenly shot mulligans are in play. We walked off that course. I had shot a 93 on a course I'd never played before. I'm always trying to be right around 90 this time of year, so I was happy with that. He was at 96 and just picked up his ball in the final hole because he couldn't. Making 10 would have been difficult. So I say all of that to then say what happens when we got back to the property, where he is now making best friends with everyone in this building.
Mayor.
Surprising. He'll talk to anybody.
Oh, and he is helping old ladies.
Oh, yeah.
We had one on our floor where he got the door for her, helped her out and everything else. They started talking about being Clemson football fans. He's a George fan. We'll see you, all that sort of stuff.
And that's all great, and he's very social, but the want of the other person to be in this conversation is not a factor. They're going to be in the conversation.
Right. Even in the most normal times, social distancing for Brian Hoyt has never been something he's practiced.
Now, when you get on an elevator and you got 19 floors to go, whether you choose or not, you're having a conversation with him.
You are. So we do dinner. Everything's fine. Everyone's having a good time. And we decide, let's go over to the poker room. Poker room set up. You'll notice it. Everything's plexiglassed off. You have your own partitions. Really done well. I went and played in there a little bit later last night. But you go in, and they don't allow any bystanders. You're either playing or you're not. So you're in the room, you're at your spot, or you're not. Well, so I walked over there just to check on him because I'm thinking this is gregarious Hoyt. This is what he does. But I also know at a poker table he doesn't talk to anybody. Like, he just looks at his cards, calculates, and then tries to attack you.
Which is shocking because when I play blackjack with him, he doesn't shut up.
Okay, he didn't shut up for a minute on that table. And so here's the fun part about it. At one point I hear him say, Jeff, are we going to be friends? Can we be friends?
Oh, God.
Like, you can meet my wife, Jeff. We'll be friends.
Oh, no!
And the entire table is now getting extremely frustrated with this guy who clearly is talking too much and won't stop bothering everyone constantly.
How do you now that these people understand our lives how it used to be?
It's almost like if you remember in Tombstone when Doc Holliday tells him let's be friends. I'd be upset. That's what he's doing to these people, and he's winning for a while. I see his chipset start to go up. Finally, I decide I'm going to go over there. I'm going to check on him, and all I hear is this clapping of happiness, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, what just happened? Hoyt is leaving the table without any chips.
Okay, you know what?
The only thing they didn't sing was "Na Na Na Goodbye" on the way out.
I haven't seen this recently, but I was actually in Biloxi one time this happened, and it was pretty obvious to me what was going on. I saw 2 or 3 different guys say, I'm going in deeper than I should because if I win, I knock this turd out.
That's exactly what's happening.
I am going to make a play I probably shouldn't, but if I win, this guy's gone.
Now, I know him well enough to know, though, the standing O he thinks was a compliment.
He thinks he made 8 friends.
Correct.
So the comedy that really
full table.
Full table.
He thinks he made some friends.
The comedy for me in this is that I hear the clapping, I hear the cheering. I thought like somebody hit something, like somebody just won the tournament,
flush,
whatever. No, he's walking away without any chips, and at this point, it was the happiness that everyone had for him gone. Now, he was on that table for 2.5, 3 hours, so you can imagine the beating it must be to be dealing with drunken mayor of the Battery, Brian Hoyt. Now, I then get my chips, and they assign me the same table, and every one of them, to a man, just kept talking about that a-hole that was here, that a-hole that was here.
Do you claim to know him, or you just say nothing?
I just didn't say a word, and all I could think of was like,
3 seats away.
And so what I can tell you in summation, this is a great facility. The golf course is awesome. We've been enjoying the dining. Everything's really cool. But no, if you see Brian Hoyt anywhere around here, and this includes even Frank Duffy, who's planning on making a trip out here, if you see Hoyt, go the other direction, because you do not want to deal with this man while he's here.
Have we heard from him? Is he upright, or is he in the prone position somewhere? Do we know where he is?
You know what I've noticed with him, and I spent Thanksgiving with him? He naps a lot now.
He does. He's old, and he's out of shape, and he's tired
a lot.
Did he actually lose all his chips, or did he just look around and tell everybody, look, I'm going to leave the poker game now to go spend time with my kids? Was he really out of chips?
All he had left, I saw it this morning, there were the $25 chips in the game. You're not allowed to put them on the table. You can cash them in if you want to use them for the game, but that way you can't really just overwhelm somebody. Those are the only 2 chips he had left.
He's Ginger from Casino.
Yeah.
I found him passed out with a couple of $25 chips.
So there you go. That was our rundown of everything that happened last night.
All right, text messages coming in. This is from Brian Hoyt.
Oh, neat.
He's alive, so there's the first step. He just told me you should have let that guy just shoot me at the blackjack table in Vegas. I wasn't going to stop him.
No, you weren't.
For those who don't know, when we were in Vegas, whatever it was now, a couple of years ago, Hoyt was sitting at third base playing blackjack, and he was playing very recklessly. I mean, dumb things, low percentage moves. And the guy next to me was, as LeBron called the guy at the Hawks game, his roided ass, was sitting next to me, and this dude would have killed and then asked questions later. He was going to kill Hoyt. Now, like any good friend, I pretended I didn't know him. I was like, you're right, you should get him, Jack.
This was March of 2018, and I will say that a mere 33 months later, I have revised my opinion. I side with you because after hearing the details of this story, do you know what happens when you do step in for your friend? What you're saying is, I endorse and I don't think there's anything wrong with his activity.
Ding, ding.
If you
ding.
open your mouth, you're saying there's nothing wrong with what he's doing.
So for the record now, 2 of us.
You're right.
2 of us sitting at a casino at a table have denounced Brian Hoyt.
I disavowed him.
Yes, we did. We didn't stay. We pretend we don't know him. Does he think this is?
You need to be the Boy Scouts. Like you get it like a Marlboro pin. You just tack it right on there. I've got the Hoyt achievement pin.
Well, the problem for me would have been, had they known, then they would have been setting traps for me and coming after me to get me off the table. So I just kept quiet.
So what do we do tonight? Do we devise a plan? What if we tell him?
Lost my phone.
No. What if we tell him? Listen. What if we tell him, change of plans, we're all heading back to Atlanta tonight. Right after the show. Right after the show, we're all heading back, and maybe he believes that and goes home. Oh, did he drive with you?
He rode with me.
Oh, hell.
I've got an idea.
I'm going to have to lead this somewhere.
Yeah, you may have to take a bullet on this one. Say, it turns out we've been mistaken all weekend. We're supposed to be in Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
So why don't you tell him to get an Uber and you'll meet him?
I'll meet you in Murphy.
There's got to be a solution to this, so we'll find out what tonight looks like. That is Brian Hoyt to a T. The man lives his gimmick. Thank you, Los. All right, coming up next, Chuck tells you how a coworker of his tried to convince him and the rest of us about an investment that would have made all of us a ton of money. This feels like an opportunity missed. We'll talk about it next. Chuck and Chernoff live at Harrah's Cherokee Casino in Cherokee, North Carolina. We're set up right in front of the new book, the sports book that will be opening any day now. When sports wagering comes online here, we will make sure you guys know about it, but it's going to be beautiful. You can see us on 680 The Fans YouTube channel with the book right over our shoulders. We'll be hanging out here throughout the rest of the show, and then tonight before heading back to Atlanta tomorrow, unless we just get on a roll and decide to get the Rain Man suite for the rest of the weekend. Couple of quick notes here about some things that have broken today. Number one, Trevor Bauer is now a member of the LA Dodgers. There were reports yesterday that he was on the doorstep, on the brink of signing with the Mets, so it's got to be an awful feeling right now for the Mets, who thought this is the move that's going to put us over the top. Instead, Bauer inks a 3-year deal with the Dodgers. 2 opt-outs, one after year 1 and year 2, makes him the highest paid player in the game this season at $40 million. If he opts in for year 2, it'll be $45 million next season, and the rich just get richer with that pitching staff in LA.
And they'll be over the luxury tax, but that's not really a concern for them. But
which is odd in the middle of this downturn of the baseball economics. They don't even care.
He won the Cy Young, and he's either the 2 or probably maybe even the 3. But he doesn't care.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
Just get involved.
Doesn't matter at all. All right, so Chuck said there was an opportunity that he has missed out on, and it maybe would have changed things financially.
It really would have. If we go back in time ahead of the 2017 NFL Draft, our coworker, Carlos, he was breaking down the draft very regularly ahead of it, and one player that he really honed in on was Patrick Mahomes. And he said by all the measurables, by everything that the NFL is about offensively right now, and everything that Patrick Mahomes, everything his game is about, and what he has shown, not just whether it's the size of his hands or his sprint or his arm strength, whatever.
For those who don't know, he has abnormally large hands.
That Patrick Mahomes really looks like he should be the guy coming out of this draft. Then he was drafted 10th. And after he was drafted, the very first football card that came out, and it was generally accepted as the card you wanted, 2017 Panini National Treasures card 161. 5 of them included a jersey patch and were autographed by Patrick Mahomes. After they were opened, just randomly, wherever they came out, Matt, you could have gotten them in the probably $800 to $1,000 range. Maybe if it was like a perfectly graded 10 autograph, or maybe $1,500. That exact card that you could have gotten for $800 to $1,000, it sold Monday night for $861,000.
Oh, is that all?
So, all right, Carlos, you are up. I need to know who the next quarterback coming into the draft is, because there are characteristics that apparently go across various draft years about what makes a quarterback for what today's NFL is about. And by the way, I'm going to put my money where Carlos says to. Again,
Justin Fields.
The Mahomes card that everybody looked at and said, yeah, that's the one. If you really want to speculate, roll the dice. If you think he's the guy, 1,000, maybe 1,500, a copy. And there's, like I said, they're numbered 2-5. One of them sold for $861,000. So I said, Carlos, when you have done all of your prep work and you boil it down, you give me a name, I'm going to jump in.
I'll let him jump in here. Can I tell you that there won't be a name? Not like that will produce the returns. You're not looking for anything but the returns. That's not going to happen again. Sorry, you missed it. It's over.
Pet cat is once in a lifetime.
Correct.
Well, there will be an opportunity not exactly like that. For instance,
okay,
there is an anonymous customer of there's a company called Heritage Auctions, and they have a standing offer from one of their apparently Fat Cat regular customers. There is a 1-of-1 Zion Williamson card that hasn't been pulled yet.
Is this the jersey one that you've told me about?
Okay. The guy said, whenever you find it, you give it to them. I'm paying $500,000. There is an open $500,000 bounty on a card that's out there. So I'm going to get whoever the next name is, and I'm going to see what the environment is, and I'm going to jump in. So all I need is the name.
I'm just a little bit stressed because I start going from off-season guide, which I'll have out next week.
Yeah.
to then doing all the draft work, and now I know that there's a financial element that goes down to watching these things.
Damn right
which
there
creates
is.
more pressure.
Yes, it does, because when I was talking about Pet Cat, this is 2016, 2017, and I would start like every one of Chuck's regional shows by saying, hey, look to the West. What is Patrick Mahomes doing right now? And then it was, when it all came to fruition, that is that gamble that some of these guys pay off. And when it happens, if you're in on the right car, the right market, huge.
So before the draft,
You know he's going to get a name out of you before you're out.
and I told him today in the email, I was like, Carlos, maybe you do it on the air today. I said, more likely you take a month or two.
Start looking.
But when you realize this really looks like he could be the guy, I'm actually going to put something out there and get a card or two.
It's a lot of pressure.
Say Trey Lance, just lead him down that path.
No,
What's the
I
difference?
was already planning on spending a lot of time, and here's the thing. When you start investing your time watching some of these people, you start wanting to like them,
Yeah.
and that's the weird bias of it. And that happens not just in the card world, not in our world, the NFL world. When you start watching a lot of a tape of a guy, you want to like him because of the time investment.
Here's where I'm telling you have to say a Trey Lance or somebody like that, because Trevor Lawrence is not going to be the come out of nowhere. Not that Mahomes came out of nowhere, but relatively speaking.
No, you want to buy low to sell high.
Correct.
And see, that's
I hate to break this to you again.
Yeah.
You done messed up.
I am a very slow learn here because this is what my normal tact would be.
Chuck almost bought Amazon stock back in the day, too.
Is that I would look at it and say, okay, Brett Favre retired. Well, he's going to the Hall of Fame. That looks like a lock. I'll go buy some Brett Favre cards. And then I realized, they're all really expensive because I waited till the guy's going to the Hall. Kyler Murray, I waited till after his rookie season. I was like, damn, Kyler Murray, that kid's a superstar. I'm going to go buy, for instance, like the $800 to $1,000 Kyler Murray, the equivalent to this, it goes for about $12,000 now, $15,000. And so that's after waiting just for one unbelievable rookie year. It went from about $1,000 to maybe $10,000 to $12,000. So if you're going to do this, it has to be before they play one snap and you go, by God, Justin Herbert is the one. I'm going to get the $1,000 Justin Herbert card.
I've got a name for you. You ready?
And I've never spent $1,000 on a card in my life.
Here we go. The name? Newman. Getting our Jamie Newman card right now, and then all of a sudden,
Don't do it, Chuck.
Flo, shut up. When the Newman thing comes in big, you're going to be laughing, going, Newman. I'm just saying, be ahead of the curve on this.
Carlos has already talked about his hands. Doesn't like his hands.
No, we got some issues there.
Listen, I'm just trying to help.
Yeah, in fact, I think Carlos said when Jamie Newman picks up a football, he calls it bad touch.
He's not lying.
All right, so I've got another name for you. Trask.
No. You don't want that either.
Big Mac.
So, point is that there will be an opportunity.
Doesn't matter. You'll be late on it no matter what.
No, because before they play,
even
there's going to be an opportunity. And Carlos, when he arrives at the name, he knows we got the system set up.
I'll deliver you a name.
Yeah.
All right. Los is going to have to be the opposite of the cooler. He's going to be the heater here who gives you the name that you're looking for. I have a name for you. You ready? It rhymes with Trevor Lawrence.
$861,000.
Like, don't you hate being the guy who tells the story about the missed opportunity? Do you know how many times Hulk Hogan has had to talk about missing the George Foreman grill by a phone call? Like, that's a true story that his agent represented Hulk and Foreman. He had two items. He left a message for Hulk and said, I got a grill and I've got a juicer. You call me, whoever calls back first gets the items. Hulk hears the machine, the message late, calls back, goes, I'll take the grill. No, Foreman grabbed the grill. What do you think Hogan's thinking? Just what you are. The Mahomes card was his George Foreman grill.
I'm trying to be more active about this now. Again, I'm slowly catching up.
I understand. All right, coming up next, Arthur Blank and I are on the same page.
Falcons aren't losing on Saturday.
Falcons on Saturday. All right, no, that's not the same page. We're on the same page about this important Falcon topic. Plus, I'm hoping Tom Brady isn't going to make us look really dumb years from now. We'll tell you about those stories and more. We're live at Harrah's Cherokee on the phone.
I go, here I go, here I go again, girls. What's my week?
Sounds a lot like our 5 o'clock open with Chuck and Chernoff on the Fan as we're live at Harrah's Cherokee in Cherokee, North Carolina. We're sitting right in front of the brand new book, the sports book that will be opening any day now. No live sports wagering yet, but it will be happening soon enough, so we wanted to give you a little bit of a preview. And you can see us on our 680 The Fan YouTube channel right now with the beautiful book right behind us. Busy day, man. A lot of stuff to get to, including our official Super Bowl pick here in 10 minutes. But the news that broke when we got on the air today, Trevor Bauer was deciding between the Dodgers and the Mets. He ended up choosing L.A., where he signs a 3-year deal. The first 2 years, year one will pay him $40 million. Then if he opts in for year two, it'll make $45 million in that year. He has another opt-out clause that if he decides to opt back in for year three, it drops down to $17 million. So Trevor Bauer in year one and year two, pretty obvious that he's a Dodger after that. We'll see what the direction is. But that staff, the world champion Dodgers already with Walker Buehler and Clayton Kershaw, now Trevor Bauer, Urias. It is a loaded pitching staff. Chuck, this reminds me of when the Warriors won the title, and what did they do? In the offseason, they go and add Kevin Durant. That kind of impact already a pitching strength of theirs.
And there's no way that third year turns out for the Dodgers. There's one way it turns out for Bauer in that he pitches, I said, about 450 innings over the next 2 years, and there's a little fatigue. There's a little, you know what, maybe he'll be in extended spring training and he'll be ready June 1. He's like, I would like to activate that $17 million, please. There's no way that final year is anything but bad news for the Dodgers, because if he's lights out and still strong and healthy, they paid him $85 million and he opted out before it finally came around to the cheap year.
Well, unless his arm has been amputated, I think we know what year three is going to be. If he's still pitching well, he's going to get another bite at the apple, and good for him. All right, so Super Bowl Sunday is just 2 days away. LV. Indeed. Chiefs are still a 3-point pick. It's been sitting at 3 in a lot of places for about 10 days, 3.5 in other spots, but it has not moved, with the Chiefs still sitting there as that small favorite. Tom Brady will be playing in his 10th Super Bowl, which just sounds weird to say. 10 Super Bowls for Brady in his 20-year career. And what he's doing now at 43 years old, it's worth pointing out a couple of things. Number one, this is his third Super Bowl after the age of 40. He just had a season, statistically speaking, that was better than probably 28 or 29, maybe 30 quarterbacks around the league. He's figured out the most impossible thing, and that's how to beat Father Time. There's a reason why, and it's become this thing, well, everybody keeps telling you this is the year Tom's going to start falling. Because it's normal. Because we're right to say that. Because every other athlete not named LeBron has always started to see their skills diminish late 30s, especially into their 40s. I'm just hoping that 10 or 15 years from now, we're not looking back thinking how dumb we were just to accept this the way we did during the Bonds, Clemens, Sosa steroid era. I'm not accusing Tom of anything. I'm just saying what he's doing is impossible to explain at this level. Unless you're superhuman, it's impossible.
But it turns out that in 12 years we realize blood doping and, I don't know, human genome project, and he was experimented on, and something happened.
He's got Zulu blood. I have no idea.
But there is no explanation for this.
Not this level of play.
No.
You're supposed to diminish.
Because Drew this year, was good enough to start.
He was fine.
Then there were times when you realize Sean Payton, that's that phrase I've used, coach around your quarterback, you don't want to do it. There were times Sean Payton was like, yeah, we're well past that. I'm not going to coach around his limitations. I'm going to pull him from the game because I want to throw the ball deep.
Let me add one more.
That's what's supposed to happen.
Sure. Well, let me add another element, though, Brady. He did all this in an offseason that wasn't an offseason. He started in a brand new place with no traditional offseason, no preseason games, and this is where he is.
And remember, he got his wrist slapped a little bit verbally. Don't get with your teammates in the park and throw footballs.
There are a lot of things that we can come up with theories on. I can't explain this one. We make fun of the avocado ice cream. We make fun of TB12, Alex Guerrero. None of this makes any sense. It's something we've never seen. It's at least with LeBron, Chuck, I can look at his body and see that he is just – now, he works harder than anybody, but he's also been given a gift physically with that body that is unlike something.
You got something to work with.
Yeah, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. So I don't know, folks. I can't figure it out. Again, I'm not accusing him of anything. All I'm telling you is none of it makes any sense that he's playing at this high level at the age he is just because he eats well and sleeps 10 hours a night. If that was that easy, every quarterback would sleep 10 hours a night and eat avocado ice cream. Just not that simple.
I'm still intrigued by that. Is it sugar-free? Is it like maybe a Splenda? Swerve?
I have never tried the avocado ice cream because those two words should not go together.
Isn't it Swerve? Do you know what that is? It's like a baking reduced, sugar-free sugar.
If you say so.
Yeah.
Listen, ice cream is...
I wonder what he does.
Let me explain to you something. Ice cream is meant to be a treat. There's no way Tom Brady can be as happy as I am on a Thursday night when I'm diving into a bowl of queso and then eating cookies and cream ice cream. There's no way. Now, his little titles and his supermodel wife and his billion-dollar mansions, that's fine. I swam in a bowl of queso last night. He didn't.
But if it's Giselle bringing you your tablespoon of ice cream.
Here's where I am on this.
Teaspoon during the week, tablespoon on the weekend.
So he really gets nuts.
Yeah.
Here's where I am on this. She's beautiful, but a bunch of rich, athlete married guys have beautiful wives. And
Yeah, they all do, yeah.
They get bored with it. I mean, we can't act like he's not bored with her like every other married guy's bored with his wife.
I don't know, man.
Alex Rodriguez just got caught FaceTiming a 29-year-old.
We don't know that. He denied it.
No. There was no. She admitted it.
I thought he said that it wasn't what it seemed.
He's a liar. He's got a history of being a liar. You new here? This Madison Lucroy.
Don't believe, or that's not what it.
From Southern Charms, like, yeah, we talked and FaceTimed, and supposedly they did more on FaceTime than talk. Point is, he's got J-Lo in the next room. I mean, what do you want?
What's he getting?
Because he can.
Can that be recorded? Is there a chance that girl recorded him?
I bet you could probably.
Oh, Alex.
You could have another device going.
A-Rod.
It could. Anyway, we got sidetracked. Couple of quick.
He's married to.
No, they're just engaged. Chuck, please.
Engaged to J-Lo.
Couple of things here. So we've been giving you some of the prop bets throughout the week. Let me give you some of my prize picks early selections that I've already got these in this morning. Chuck, couple of unders on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Chiefs running back. I went under 30.5 yards, which you think, well, wait a minute, that's a bad play. Since he was out, they've already divvied up carries to Williams and Le'Veon Bell that I'm just looking at usage. So I'm going to go under on Edwards-Helaire with the rushing yards and his 8 fantasy points. I'm going to go over on Mecole in a couple of ways. Mecole over the 7.5 fantasy points. I told you, he's over, if he gets 3 catches and has one big, shovel pass he takes for 40 yards, you're in good shape there. And I will go over on Kelsey's receptions at 8.5 and over on Chris Godwin's receptions at 5.5. Capiche?
Yeah, I don't know if these are on prize picks. I do have some props that I like.
What do you like?
Leonard Fournette scores a touchdown at any point.
Okay. What's the number?
Plus 120.
I like the value. Not huge, but it's good enough.
Yeah. Longest touchdown scored. I don't think you like this one. I'm going to over 44.5. It's even money, minus 110.
I didn't play that one. I didn't like the Bucs' longest touchdown over 38.5. The Tom Brady passing touchdown.
All right. And then the last play of the game, quarterback rush. I say no, plus 125.
So nobody's taking a knee, in other words?
Yeah, if it's a run if it's actual handoff, or if it's a desperation pass or a kick or a.
What did you? I saw 2 numbers that I wanted to get your opinion on from Prize Picks, and you can get the Prize Picks app or the website, and you can make your plays now for the big game on Sunday. Rushing yards for Tom Brady is listed at 0.0, which is just begging you to say, well, he has a quarterback sneak for a touchdown somewhere.
You have to.
You don't, though. If you go look, Tom is routinely around 2 or 3 rushes for minus a yard, minus 2 yards, that type of thing. But at 0.0, you go, can he lean forward?
They're telling you to play it.
Exactly. And then Mahomes was 19.5 rushing yards.
I like that over a little bit.
I was tempted.
There ain't no next week.
But he does not run like you would assume he does.
He might on Super Bowl Sunday.
Might. Everything hangs out and he might do it. I love the Bucs linebackers, though. I mean, I'm not saying Mahomes can't get loose, but there's a lot of things to like about Tampa's defense. The athleticism up front with their defensive line and their linebackers is just
we were just talking
really
about
special.
A guy like Aaron, who's not as old as Brady, but in their playoff losses, why do you run? It's the playoff loss. If you lose, you don't play anyway. I think that seems like a very attainable number for Patrick.
It could be. So a lot of fun plays happening there. How about now, without further ado, you want to make an official Super Bowl pick?
It's time for Chuck and Chernoff's Picks of the Week. Ooh, what do you make, like 2 picks? Way to put yourselves out there, guys.
And we're not going to make 2 picks. We're going to make 1. There's only 1 game. Or you can make a couple if we want to go with the number and the total in the game. I'll call it Chiefs -3 that I'm looking at right here, the composite at this website right here. So I'll go 3 with the Chiefs, laying the points, and the total is 56.5. Mr. Oliver.
I am square. I am taking the favorite and the over, and I can't believe them. Give me the 3. I'll say minus the 3, and then over the 56.
I'm going to do the same, and we're probably going to be dead wrong on this because we're sort of thinking the same way. If I'm looking at the game and I just say you're giving me this small number, Chiefs are the better team. It's not like, I've heard this theory that Tampa's going to be so comfortable playing at home. There's no crowd that's going to be louder than the other. You got vaccinated healthcare workers and rich folks who are going to be the corporate crowd. The weather could be tricky, but I don't get carried away with that until I see a muddy, wet, awful field. The Chiefs are the better team. I'll lay the 3, and I will as well go over the 56.5, somewhere in the 34 to 27 range if you want to pick a score or something like that. So I'll lay the points and I'll go over that total.
I've actually, some of the more interesting prop bets are the alternate totals. Do you want to go over 59.5? Do you want to go over 63.5, et cetera? And so you can actually get some good return there, but I like the over on the posted number.
The official Super Bowl pick has been made. Let's get to our worst idea.
Ready for Chuck and Chernoff's worst idea.
All right, your worst idea answers today have been coming to the Harrah's Cherokee Casino's Twitter feed. Since we are live here at this beautiful resort and casino at Harrah's Cherokee, we wanted to know the best heater you've ever been on, the best heater, the best run you've had at the tables. What would that look like for you? Fat Casey said, once I got a breakfast buffet comped, and for Fat Casey, that's a heater. Big deal for Fat Casey, It really is. Dub said he was playing pot limit poker because he was waiting on no limit and a seat to open up, of all things. He says, I couldn't lose for the next 6 hours no matter what I needed. It came out for me. He says, I bought in with 200, walked away with 2,500. It was amazing, and it will never happen again. As long as you realize the second part of it, Vegas loves, or places like this love when you have that early run of success, because it sucks you in and makes you believe this is easy when it's not easy at all. David said, much like you, Matt, the first time I played craps, I rolled for 8 to 10 minutes. Everyone at the table made a ton of money. Lots of people gathered around. He says, I have no idea what I was doing. I ended up with over $5,000. Everyone cheered, and the fun ended, and then the thing turned. It's, again, usually how that goes. Austin says, I checked in, walked to the bar, got a drink, and put a $20 bill into the video poker game, hit a royal flush for $4,000 before my drink came. How about that?
Trip made.
I mean, you ain't kidding at that point. So you can keep those coming to the Harrah's Cherokee Casino's Twitter feed, the best heater you were on.
Yeah, when one hand of video poker qualifies as a heater,
You're living right. Yeah. Coming up next, one of our most trusted sources said something about Nick Saban that I think all SEC fans who are rooting for the Bama dynasty to end need to hear. You'll hear it next. It's Chuck and Chernoff live at Harrah's Cherokee Casinos, right here in Cherokee, North Carolina. We're on the 680 The Fan YouTube channel. You can see us. Hi, YouTube. Hello.
Oh, hello, YouTube.
You can check that out live or later on after you're listening on the radio. Come back and it'll be there for you to check out our scene, which is right in front of the brand new sports book called The Book here at Harrah's Cherokee in Cherokee, North Carolina. Not open yet, no live wagering, but it's coming any day. Giving you a little preview of what the book looks like.
Already got the giant scissors and all of that.
Can't wait.
They're ready.
This hour of the program is presented by SOTA Weight Loss. You can visit SOTA at SOTA weightloss.com. Click the SOTA at home nationwide tab to be like Domino and lose that 4 or 5 pounds of fat weight a week and look all svelte and purty like Chrissy D. All right, coming up in 5 minutes, we will jump into the audio DeLorean as we hit the anniversary of the worst day ever. Thanks, Chuck, for bringing us back to this awful place. After we do this, we're going to play audio of everyone's divorces and the funerals of your parents. All right?
All right.
Very good. We'll do that in 5 minutes.
Death in the Six.
It's not very fun to laugh in a mask. I'm spitting up on myself. So I wanted to go back to something we talked about earlier in the week. After National Signing Day came and went, I gave you guys the recruiting rankings from our friends at 24/7 Sports in Alabama. Finished first, which there's not a big deal with that. Not big news. Bama finishes first in the rankings for recruiting a lot. But I've heard this talking point now from 2 or 3 people in the recruiting game that I trust a ton that have said this could be the best recruiting class Nick Saban has ever put together. So think of the 3 weeks that program and Saban had. Won a natty. 3 weeks later, won the recruiting championship. We don't know how it'll turn out, but guess what? They always get the benefit of the doubt. They recruit great talent, and they develop the hell out of them.
Well, they've been getting number 1 classes regularly. I think it's 8 in 11 years.
Oh.
And so what have we seen the result be? When a coach like Nick Saban gets the number 1 overall class, what may happen in a year or 2 or 3, a national championship or 2 or 3. So you saying they have not only the number 1 class again, but his highest ranked class ever as a head coach, then we see how it's already been turning out. I mean, it's a predictable outcome.
Well, I know a lot of SEC fans are just trying to count down the days to the end of the Bama dynasty when Nick Saban retires. Much in the way that I think golfers who were on the tour at the prime of Tiger Woods' career were like, all right, when is this going to end? Will he get hurt? Will he retire? Will he have
2000?
Will there be a Perkins waitress? Something's got to slow this run down. Or everybody that was not named Chicago in the 90s, the Bulls, we were all wondering, when's this going to end, the Bulls dynasty? And at some point, all this stuff ends. But we had Rusty Manziel from 24/7 Sports on the show on the night of National Signing Day, and he said something that should strike fear into the hearts of everybody in the SEC not named Alabama. Listen to Rusty on the future of Nick Saban.
I mean, Nick Saban, to me, looks like he's got 3 or 4 or 5 more years than him minimum, and maybe even 6 years. I mean, he's so energetic, looks in great shape. He's on a pattern every day. I think he was eating oatmeal pie. That's his cheat meal every day, and everything else is healthy for him. And his energy level is incredible for his age to do what he does.
His cheat mode is a oatmeal pie.
That's breakfast every morning with his coffee. He has 2 oatmeal cream pies while he watches the Weather Channel, he says.
What? Well, that's what old people usually do, right?
Got to know if we practice inside or out.
Got to watch the radar. Now, I do want to tell him, on your phone. You can get that info.
You could have that, yes.
But the overall point, and I've been on this kick, too, for a while of why would Nick Saban, when everybody's like, this will be the last year and this will be the last year, why would Saban want to walk away? Number one, he's in great shape. He looks 49 or 59. This is his passion outside of Miss Terry, the gardening, and the house by the lake.
He's been working, though. He went to work in 1972. He's been working for 49 years.
Do you understand that?
You'll graduate from college and go to work at the bank or as an attorney or as a biology teacher. You don't work 49 years.
Yeah, you do. When you're – it's what I said one time before.
Nobody works 49 years. What industry do you go to work? Well, I guess I'll work till I'm 70.
That's why the Sabans and the Bradys and some of these people are just so different that none of us can rationalize. What you just did is you thought like the normal guy started to work at 22, got a pension or a 401k.
Work till you're 72. All right. Do you know what?
But he loves this, and this defines him.
If there were industries where it was advertised, all right, graduate from college, start working at 22, you can retire in half a century. Nobody would go into those industries.
This is also, what a great industry, right? He's not working in the mine. He's not.
He's from West Virginia, so that means something.
He's not schlepping on the road as a salesman. What he's doing is the one thing he loves more than anything else. Guys like Nick Saban don't have a ton of hobbies. You know, his hobby is his grandchildren getting in the dirt, and then he gets back on the football field. But I've said repeatedly, I think he's 4 or 5 more years.
He's 75.
Rusty Mansell said, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 6 more years. Do you understand the cringing that every other fan base in the SEC would be doing right now, thinking,
I reject that idea. In fact,
of course
Rusty,
you should.
Rusty, I smite that statement. That statement is smote.
Do you want to understand now the math and the history? If he stays, let's meet in the middle at 4 or 5 years. Let's say 5 years. The math and the history tells us Alabama will represent the SEC and a spot in the college football playoff in 4 of the next 5 years. That is the history and that is the math, meaning there's one spot available 1 year for Kirby, Mullen, Jimbo, Coach O, whoever else, because Bama and that talent, they're going to be in the Final Four 4 out of 5 years. You just have to accept that. That ain't easy, but it's the truth.
It feels like the floor for a 5-year period, if that's what Saban has going forward, the floor would be 3 playoff appearances and at least 1 natty, if not 4 or playoff appearances and a few. Anybody say a few national championships?
Oh, he'll win 2 more if he gets to 4.
So,
if he gets to 4 playoffs, he'll win 2 more.
So that'll give him 9.
I mean... and now here's the frustrating part. Georgia's got a great program, but they also have the greatest monster in the history of college athletics in front of them. Florida's now putting together a really good program again.
Yeah, right now Gus is listening on the app and he's laughing.
Because
this is all new to him? This is all new to this guy, Matt?
It's not about new to the...
Wait a minute, Kirby's busting his tail, but he's still in the same conference with Nick Saban.
Here's the reality. There's a chance Kirby Smart could be going into year number 10, still chasing the elusive title, and he could still do a great job, win top 5 recruiting classes, finish top 10 in the rankings every year, and just so happens that Godzilla standing in your way
sucks awful
is Alabama. There are very few things in sports we've ever seen like this. We've seen, I've said before, Chuck, it's weird. In our lifetimes, we've seen some really special stuff. Bama, Chicago Bulls, Jordan, Duke basketball. There have been some things where you're like, Tiger. I mean, this stuff doesn't, Roger Federer. You're not supposed to dominate the way that these individuals or teams have at such an elevated elite status for as long as they do.
No, it's supposed to be Mike
Brady,
Tyson.
by the way, not to interrupt. Brady is another example.
For about 4 years or so, Mike Tyson, indestructible. It was like somebody carved him out of iron, and he's going to be the champion as long as he chooses to be champion. And you never understand why it ends. How did that guy lose? How did that team lose? How did that happen? But that is the history of sports. I mean, and you don't have to. You can go back 5 years or 35 years. You can talk about Villanova, Georgetown. You can talk about Buster Douglas. You can talk about the Bucks on Sunday. Who knows?
I don't want to get derailed here. You do understand that Tyson was a fugazi. It wasn't real. Time has told us that it wasn't real.
But
I'm just,
in the moment,
I know.
He's indestructible.
He didn't fight anybody. Not his fault, but when he finally fought people, he got his tail kicked.
No.
He got his tail kicked. He got his tail.
Because 86, 87, 88, 89, Tyson didn't fight.
Who were the best fighters he fought in his career? You can say it. I know it.
Old Michael Spinks.
No.
Old Larry Holmes.
No, the best fighters were 2 times against Evander and once against Lennox Lewis. He got his tail kicked.
But they weren't.
That's not my fault. Guess what? Evander wasn't 22 either, Doctor. Lennox wasn't 23.
I know.
I don't want to go down this path because people get mad at me. He's the most overrated sports figure of all time. He was dominant against an awful division when he was dominating. Then, I firmly believe had he fought Holyfield before going to prison, Holyfield would have beaten him anyway. Mike never had a plan B. To be great.
True, and he never needed it.
But that's the problem.
And then he did, and he was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to lose in Tokyo. What comes next? But you can't. I don't invalidate the 4 years just because the competition was crap.
He fought a tubby guy in
he did everything
Buster
he
Douglas
could against that division.
But
whether it was Frank Bruno or Bone Crusher Smith or Tyrell Biggs
give me another great all-time that lost to the best competition. He's the only one that you would sell me as great, and he lost to the best competition. I don't want to go down this road. I loved watching Mike, but it wasn't real. Remember when we used to do the...
You're mistaken about that.
What would happen when Mike fought Ali? Do you know what Ali would have done to poor Mike Tyson? Because Mike never had a backup plan. Ali could take it on the chin, be aggressive, come on the offense early. There was a million things he could do. He's a great fighter. Mike Tyson was an intimidator. Again, I digress. That wasn't the point of my discussion.
I think it was.
That wasn't. My point was Nick Saban and the greatness of Saban. Just the Tyson.
You know what? We're on record. Why are we here this weekend at the book? We are previewing the opening of the book ahead of the Super Bowl. Next month it'll be March Madness. We'll be here for the NFL Draft.
That's
all
right.
the huge sporting events. We're coming here. I sure hope Tyson never has a fight here.
I'm not saying he couldn't destroy me, but that's not a challenge. I told you I was in an elevator with him in Vegas. It was the most intimidated I've ever been for the
Why?
3
He was
minutes.
Fugazi.
Well, no, he could beat me. Again, that's not the challenge.
Why don't you just bow up? Hey, yo, Mike, who'd you beat? Who'd you beat, Mike?
He didn't beat anybody. That's the sad thing. It's weird. I know it, but nobody wants to hear it. Give me the truth, baby. That's what it's about. All right, so now we're going to bring you down as we look back on this date in 2017. You all know what the date is. Do I have to tell anybody what this date is? This is the date that we all went to hell. February 5th.
Oh, so bad.
2017. A date that will live in infamy in the city of Atlanta. That it started out so fun. I remember I was doing the show that morning, live downtown at Taco Mac at the CNN Center. And there was a buzz and a palpable, like, tonight we're winning a championship. Like, I had no doubts. We're winning a title tonight. Here we go. And for the first 3 quarters, I was the smartest guy around, like a lot of us who had predicted they would win. And then things fell apart. But it wasn't just that day that we had fun with during the playoffs. Sports is the ultimate uniter. And for that 3-4 weeks in the postseason that began with a win over Seattle on a Saturday afternoon at 4:30, continued on the next Sunday at 3 o'clock in the Georgia Dome in an atmosphere like I'd never been a part of. It was unbelievable. And then for the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, this was the most fun city in America to live in. I have no doubt. It was the most fun city in America.
We had a couple of Friday afternoon broadcasts, and I think that it was before the Seattle game, I know, and I think also before the NFC title game. We had 2 Friday afternoon broadcasts at the Taco Mac on the corner of, is it North Side and 14th or 10th or whatever it is over there, near that Crystal?
How did we get over there?
And it was, off the rafter. It was just
great.
packed everywhere, and folks waiting to get inside, and all it was to have wings and hang out with other people who wanted the Falcons to win.
So we leaned into the fun by trying to come up with ways to entertain you guys beyond the normal previewing the football. So we had Derek, one of our trusty and producers and talent.
You can call him an intern.
He wasn't an intern. He was on the payroll.
But you about said it.
No, I wouldn't do that to him. So we said, Derek, what can you do to put together something with a funky beat to it as we celebrate the lead up to each playoff game? Here's what he came up with leading up to the divisional round matchup against the Seahawks.
Now I'm not trying to be rude, but hey Falcons, I feel you lose. Every time you get to season 2, you always leave me feeling blue. That's why I'm not looking back, trying to get you on the right track. You must be a football coach, the way you got me feeling jacked. So throw it up to Julio, hand it off to Run Free, with Tevin hitting the hole and Beasley taking his toe. Bro's got him ready to roll. It's the remix to the Vision, DQ and T on a mission. A Matty roll out that pocket, got every fan in here wishing, but all these old fans are grumps. I'm like, so what, they suck. Even with 50 years of research, not gonna listen to Buck. Offense popping, hope the Falcons can cover, but we got points everywhere. Good thing we bet on the over. We got Sanu on the left, Julio on the right. We bring them both together, we got touchdowns all night. And after we score, we gonna chuck some drives. And after we win, we gonna head to stat. We don't care who it is, Green Bay or Dallas. Next week we do it all again and be daddy.
All right, so there you go. There was week 1 of the playoffs with the divisional round against Seattle. In the moment, all those things sounded wonderful.
It did, and you know what? I'm glad you said that, because when we were winning, we thought that having Coach Bro as our coach was awesome. When we were winning, we thought that the brothership at Three Horns was awesome.
Do you know what we should have realized in the moment? Why didn't we put Kyle into the song? Because Kyle was the key to all of it working the way it did.
Oh, we took care of Seattle.
All right, so we rolled through Seattle. We're now on to the NFC title game. And I remember that week, the trepidation of Aaron coming in because we all had memories of 2010 dancing in our head.
He was playing at a level that he is playing as well as Aaron had ever played to that point, and the way that they won the Dallas game, the throw to Jared Cook on the sideline,
the long field goal.
Holy smokes!
So what we didn't realize in the moment was they were a beaten-up team. I mean, they were coming in limping.
Jordy was hurt,
and they had just won 2 really tough games before that. It might have been 2 road games too, the way it worked out.
I think they beat. No, you're right. Yeah.
So we had Derek once again step up to the mic to get everybody hyped for the NFC title game.
Meow. Here's a little story I got to tell about a gunslinging D-bag you hate so well. He does have a ring that he likes to don, and he goes by the name A. Ron! It started way back in 2010 when Rogers and the Pack got out of town with a win. His girl may be hot, his fans are surely not. Please do us all a favor and give Rogers a shot. He's feeling kind of cocky after beating the boys, but now he's coming down here without all of his toys. Jordy's not a go, Devontae also so, and now he's gotta bring that lame bitch into the dome. Rings you may have won, but this year you get none. You better try to run and not just throw out of the guns. Some may not be woke to this D being real. Can't wait to introduce you all to Kiki Neal. That's the story the Pack's got to worry about. Matty scoring points in an indoor flurry. His name's Matty Ice and he got respect. May not have his ring, that's what he's here to get. Aaron's pretty good, but he's still a big B, and his busted ass D won't stop our MVP. Heard some dude down the dial said our rhyming was ratchet, but that was news to me cause I don't listen to that. Kitty got it locked to the fan. They might have Mike Bell, but we know Buck is the man. So get there early. To wish we drafted Gurley. If you wonder if we'll win, I'd say the answer is surely.
All right, so there you go. There was week 2. We got a Gurley reference in there.
Which is a diss track.
It was. We're mentioning other talent around.
Wow.
Man, we were so into that thing at the time. It didn't matter. Nothing was going to slow down the momentum that we were enjoying leading up to the NFC title game. And then that afternoon is about as perfect a sports day as anybody can have. We knew we were going to a Super Bowl early in the fourth quarter. It was
clinched right before halftime.
I mean, well, Julio has the big run right after halftime, and it makes it 31-0. You're like,
done.
This stuff doesn't happen for us the way it happened that day. So then we had the most fun 2 weeks ever, and it was a great time. And we had a fun 3 quarters until it wasn't fun anymore. But this was the final piece of art that Derek put together before Tom Brady and the Patriots were waiting for us in Houston.
Yeah, this one goes out to all the Falcons fans, all across the city. From College Park to Marietta to Snellville. Long time coming, folks. Let's enjoy it. Hawks, Pack, beat 'em, here we go. Arthur and the boys finally knocking on the door of the first major ship in the ATL since the Reuter tribe from Cleveland fell. But standing in the way is that team from Boston. Yeah, for a while they've been kinda awesome, but cutting all those corners only get you so far. Finally y'all'll be the victims and the suspects are the Dirty Birds. Yeah, they back after hibernation. Falcons fever sweeping all across the nation. Folks aware of the Pats, but they might not know that this team from down south really ain't no joke. Just too many weapons where Matty can go. Got Devontae and Tevin pounding on them holes. Adding Julio jumping, showing off his vert. Man, he gets really high, must be on that perk. So New England, your time is up.
Oh, God.
Dirty Birds coming, don't give a what. And if you like zone blocking and runs with one cut ATL, let me hear you rise up. So New England, your time is up. Dirty Birds coming, don't give a what. And if you like zone blocking and runs with one cut ATL,
This is painful.
you rise up. You ain't cheating, ain't trying, that's what Bill would say. Steal our plans, film our practice, but that crime won't pay. Do whatever you want, you ain't fooling Matty. Can't wait to hear your post game.
We're on to Cincinnati.
And to that cheating Tom Brady, y'all expecting a joke about the size of his balls, but you folks ain't woke. I tell Tommy like the rest, Matty's better than you. And if we're going by the number, y'all take 12, I got 2. But it ain't about them, it's about the process. Did it take a long time? Yeah, the answer is oh yes. This one's for the men who helped us reach this night. Michael Turner, Tom McClure, and of course Roddy White. No, those cheating carpetbaggers can't stand in the way of the biggest freaking party ever seen in the A. They might have a good coach, but that's an ugly ass hoodie. Hope Mr. Blank's got one more billionaire book. So no England.
All right, so that was the way that sounded, and all I could think was, what is the championship edition of that going to sound like?
I forgot about the Billionaire Boogie.
I know. Yeah, the Arthur in the locker room. But did he make one? Why did I think, like, this is like when they make the championship shirts, but then they have to, sell them to some third world country to clothe people. I might be wrong about this. I think Derek made a championship edition of that.
Like never made in the can, ready for Monday.
Somebody get Derek the intern.
So it's like lost Beatles records.
Again, if he has one and we could play that, that's what we need to do.
These are fun to listen to because they are all. I'm going to use the word only. They're only 4 years old. Literally today, 4 years ago.
Feels like 50 years ago.
The way that we viewed Vic Beasley, the way that we viewed
Wynn and
Tevin and Devontae in the offensive system, we got this rolling.
You fell in love with that team.
And the fact that he already had become bro, and we thought it was cool. And just the beyond description difference, if they would have been able to hang on and close out that, we would have been listening to, hey, guys, you remember it was 4 years ago, the best day in Atlanta sports history, and we're going to relive it right now.
February 5th would go down as the greatest day ever.
Would be such a different experience listening to those again.
All right, so I'm being told now by sources the championship rap, it was written, apparently even demoed, but never produced.
It was lost in the Universal Fire in 2008, along with the master recordings.
Yeah.
Go Wikipedia, the Universal Fire. It was part of that.
All I could think is, what will that sound like, a championship version of the Falcons rap that would have been just joyous.
It leaves me sad.
It should. It should. You're the one. And again, you did this. I don't know why. The only thing I'm glad we didn't play is that Audra Day version of what we did with We Rise. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
You remember that one? So we had this, like, sort of inspirational, like, it's our time kind of thing, and you have Audra Day in the background. We got people tearing up listening to it on that Friday before the Super Bowl. We won't put you through that one. That would be like getting the photo album out and we're going to look at our wedding pictures of your ex-wife. Like, nobody needs that.
Let's do it.
Chuck.
Dude, she's hot. Well, clearly she wasn't off limits. So.
Just so disgusted right now by all of this. All right, coming up next, we will dive into a confidential. Turns out Julio Jones is making money moves off the field. Plus, Peyton Manning is making a career audible. And The Weeknd will try his best not to offend you or your kids. Although he makes no promises. Those stories and more on the confidential next. Cherokee in Cherokee, North Carolina. Chuck and Chernoff live on the 680 The Fan YouTube channel. You can see us here at Harrah's Cherokee Casino. We're right in front of the beautiful new sports book. Ooh, not open yet. We'll open any day now. Kind of a preview to what's going to be happening here with live sports wagering. A hop, a skip, and a jump away from all of us in Metro Atlanta. So go to harrischcherokee.com to find out about your next getaway to Harrah's Cherokee. This hour of our program is brought to you by SOTA Weight Loss. You can visit SOTA at SOTA weightloss.com. I want you guys to click on the SOTA at Home Nationwide tab. Start losing those fat pounds each and every week. Again, SOTAweightloss.com.
Now, a segment full of stories Chuck's just not thrilled about.
I'm Chuck Oliver, and I have said let's not do this.
It's time for The Confidential, presented by Phillips Home Services, the custom outdoor living area experts, and the official outdoor team of Matt Chernoff's backyard.
As I was leaving today, I was watching the remainder of the brand new grass go in there, Charles. Take a look at the fire pit. Oh, isn't it pretty? Oh. That pea gravel right around there.
There you go.
Looking very good. I'll have video and pictures for the listeners to take a look at, but I'm so glad to hear so many of you have reached out to Hayden and Hayden at Phillips Home Services to talk about making that living space of your dreams. Why waste your backyard? Ours was falling apart, and we now have a great living space, and it could be you. It could be the outdoor kitchen, the fireplace or fire pit. Maybe it's the putting green or that beautiful pool with the cascading waterfall. Go to phsatlanta.com.
We need lights.
You can do lights. They'll do a beautiful lighting package for you. You can go to phsatlanta.com. All right. Julio Jones is already making money moves as he looks to his post-playing career. Julio is now opening a new Kia dealership in Alpharetta. This news from the Atlanta Business Chronicle. The location on Westside Parkway expected to open next summer, and according to people familiar with the situation, this will be Julio's first car dealership in Atlanta, but his third overall. He already owns a pair of dealerships in Tuscaloosa. All three dealerships are managed by the folks at Carriage Automotive Group. Jones, now 31, continues to expand his automotive business portfolio with the latest move to make a name for himself in that area on top of the local real estate development he's already a part of. He's got his endorsement deals with Visa, Under Armour, Vita Coco. He's also right now ranked number 42 on the 2020 NFL Players Association list of the top 50 players' salaries. So it's a good time to be Julio Jones.
One of the real poignant statements 2 weeks back. It's already been 2 weeks with Hank Aaron, hadn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Was from Dusty Baker, and he says, obviously I was coming up, younger player, much younger than him with the Braves, early 70s, and he's like, Hank told me all of this stuff, blah, 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 how to deal with, bad fans, whatever. He says, Hank also told me, be a businessman, take care of this, get in charge of your future, because Hank, remember, had, was it BMW dealerships?
Car dealerships, he had restaurants,
yes, he
had a lot of different ventures.
Yes, he did.
Hayden Hurst, Falcon tight end, received quite an honor this week. The NFLPA names a community MVP each week during the regular season as they want to highlight off-field work that's being done by NFL players, and those players all become eligible for the Alan Page Community Award winner at the end of the season.
That's not nothing.
That honor has been bestowed on Hayden Hurst. He was named this year's winner. He's being recognized for highlighting mental health issues by sharing his own struggles with depression that led to a suicide attempt in 2016. Hurst appeared in a video, spoke about the issue on the team's website earlier in the season, and his foundation has raised more than $150,000 to fund mental health programs for children and adolescents. The NFLPA will now donate another $100,000 to Hearst Foundation in honor of the award. Good for him.
If you don't know, Alan Page, he went to Notre Dame, and then he played for the Vikings for, about 15 years, and he was one of the baddest asses in the entire NFL. He was a defensive end. He's a black guy. And then
it's a black guy.
Then he became
I thought he was a purple guy.
Then he became a judge on the Minnesota Supreme Court for about 20 years, and he is one of the most intelligent, accomplished, and beyond football of any NFL alum. And so if you get this award, that means something.
See, Chuck, he was a purple people eater.
Yes.
That's why I thought he was purple.
Yeah.
The NFL is planning to go forward with their international games in 2021, according to Commissioner Roger Goodell. He said in his State of the NFL address, games will return to the United Kingdom and Mexico in 2021. The NFL had 4 regular season games scheduled in London, 1 in Mexico City on the books in 2020. Those were all canceled. So, we didn't have an international game for the first time since 2007. But the hope for the NFL is they will get to play these games this season. We know they'll have to make some sort of a final determination before May when the 2021 schedule will be released. Peyton Manning, content creator, is now a real thing. This news from Andrew Marchand of the New York Post. Peyton Manning has started Omaha Productions, named for his shotgun formation catchphrase. Among other things, Peyton will produce programs for other big-time athletes based on his popular series called Peyton Places, which runs on ESPN+. Manning will also produce other athletes' programs that come to him in the future and already has a few in the pipeline. As recently brought up, he has a deal in place with NBC to host a restructured College Bowl, a quiz show for university students, so his plate is filling up rather quickly. It sounds like Mr. Serious, better known as Jim Nantz, could be a wanted man. Either that or his agent is doing a good job making us believe it. According to Michael McCarthy of Front Office Sports, if Jim Nantz of CBS hits free agency this summer, ESPN will be very interested in his services to make Jim their lead NFL voice and the voice for their Masters golf coverage. A few months ago, it was reported that Nantz is seeking a pay increase similar to the one CBS gave Tony Romo. According to the New York Post, Nantz wants to top what Romo is making, and Tony got $17.5 million. Word is Nantz only makes $6.5 million, but his dance card is filled constantly with NFL week to week, calling the Super Bowl here, then he'll roll into March Madness, Final Four, into the Masters coverage. So you would think he's got some clout, some hand here to make CBS pony up those dollars.
Top end for that job has essentially doubled over the last 3 years.
Here's the thing I would tell Jim Nantz, and this is hard to hear. Tony Romo became a commodity that became social media and talk on TV and radio. Jim Nantz is very good at what he does. Jim Nantz is as boring as any play-by-play. He's solid. He's not going to mess up. He's not going to screw anything up. He's going to be very good for the Masters cover. He's good. I wouldn't pay Jim Nantz anywhere close to what that money that he's looking for, because I could replace him and I wouldn't lose anything.
90% of the play-by-play, of commentary about a play-by-play guy, 90% will be nothing or negative. 90% about a color analyst will be nothing or positive. I mean, it's just built into the job about what it's going to be.
Yeah. We have a former NBA star, Chuck, who's going to get into the celebrity boxing ring with a former child pop star. News comes out this week that Lamar Odom has signed on to fight Aaron Carter later this year, according to TMZ Sports. The 41-year-old retired basketball star will get in the ring with the 33-year-old singer.
Was it Aaron Carter or Nick Carter that had the issues with the pharmaceuticals?
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Very good, Charles.
Sorry.
So they will meet at the Showboat Casino in Atlantic City June 12th.
Of course they will.
For a 3-round exhibition, according to celebrity boxing CEO Damon Feldman. The age difference is one part of this. Then there's the fact that Lamar is 6'10", whereas Aaron Carter comes in barely above 6 feet tall. TMZ had reported months ago that Odom had signed a deal with Celebrity Boxing. They just didn't know who he was going to be fighting. He has been training, though, in Atlanta, putting in the work to show off how much he's taking this seriously.
That's for Nick or Aaron, whoever's fighting. It's a bad idea.
It's Aaron.
For Aaron Carter, it's a bad idea.
Well, he's got to get bucks, man. You got to pay them bills, Chuck. Pay those bills. And finally, as we get ready for Super Bowl Sunday and the Super Bowl halftime show, good news, because The Weeknd is promising a PG-rated halftime performance. The Weeknd says the show will be family-friendly. He's vowing to keep the performance rated PG, or at least he's going to try. For those who don't know, the super popular singer is known for, let's say, mature content, dabbling into the drug scene, the sex, and the violence, all the stuff that moms and dads around middle America will freak out by. Now remember, people were really upset a year ago when J-Lo and Shakira did a borderline striptease.
My goodness, that was
wonderful. Just wonderful. There were over 1,300 complaints filed to the SEC over their provocative dance moves.
All right, well, there are like 110 million people watching it.
Hold on. Who takes time to jump on the web and write the FCC? Like, really? What do you think you're going to do? Like those people who are telling the golfers for, messing with the ball or something on a Sunday.
The only
breaking
thing,
a rule.
My biggest takeaway from that, I had no idea how tiny Shakira is.
Yeah, she's
standing next to J-Lo, I was like, holy smokes.
So The Weeknd again made it very clear. He's like, My after-hours performance will look nothing like this performance.
But a Super Bowl performance, no nipple, no nothing.
Well, the good news is he says you won't have to worry about any provocative dancing because that's not my game, but he will try his best to keep it as PG-rated and family-friendly for you kids and moms and dads on Sunday. There's the confidential. On the Fan.
Confidential, only on the Fan.
That's what I said. All right, coming up next, it's time for everybody's favorite. A roadshow edition of Sports in the Six. Okay. This show sucks. I have to share a story about a Braves fan who was really angry with me. And I know based on how he shared his anger that he's really peeved. I'll explain it to the audience next. Our Friday fun continues live at Harrah's Cherokee in Cherokee, North Carolina. Harrah's Cherokee Casino is where we are. We're right in front of the brand new book, the sports book that'll be opening any day now, where you can enjoy that live sports wagering. Not there yet, but it will be, and we'll let you know all the details on that. If you check us out on the 680 The Fan YouTube channel, you'll see us set up right in front of the beautiful book. It is a great addition to what is a perfect casino landscape here. Make sure you go to harrahscherokee.com to make your plans for a Harrah's getaway, day trip, weekend, you name it.
We're going to be here about once a month, whatever the big sporting events are, next March Madness, draft, all that, and full expect. I mean, honestly, it's within days of opening, and so just want to come up here before the Super Bowl, preview what the book is, because it is brand new in North Carolina, sports wagering on professional and collegiate sports.
The 6 p.m. hour of our show is all brought to us by the Atlanta Painting Company. I do want to let you guys know about the Chili Dip Open, which is sold out. The first big golf tournament coming up. It's all presented by the PGA Tour Superstore. It's happening at Bears Best Atlanta. It's sold out thanks to all those who have signed up to play. The Chili Dip Open, presented by PGA Tour Superstore, happens Friday, February 26th. It's brought to you by Bears Best Atlanta, VivaTequilaFestival.com, Right Side Brewing, along with Georgia's own credit union, folks at Corona Extra, Hyundai of Kennesaw, Georgia Hemp Company, and us, Atlanta's Golf Station, The Fan, 680 and 93.7 FM. So I wanted to share an email I got, Chuck. And I always say you can tell when the listener is not happy because he takes the time to send the electronic piece of mail. Nowadays it's the tweet and you move on. But I think this.
You're right. It has become so compact a response. Sometimes there's a tweet. Screw you, you're stupid. I'm like, to what are you referring?
Doesn't matter. They got it off their chest and it's Twitter and they move on. So this is from Tim, who is an angry Braves fan, but he's angry at me for saying that I think the Braves have moved on from Marcell Ozuna, and I just don't know how much Marcell was even in their plans at the price point that we all thought Marcell was going to get on the open market. And he went on and on about, you shouldn't say that, you don't have any idea about this, blah, blah. And I wrote him back, I said, I want to be wrong about this. Two things. I would give Marcell Ozuna a 3-year deal. I would give him $20 million a year. But the history right now of the franchise with Alex running it, and this is not a criticism by any means, it's just a fact, the Braves don't get into bidding wars over 30-year-old players when other clubs are offering multi-year deals. Now, maybe this will be the exception to the rule.
Yeah, they went a little bit down the Josh Donaldson road, but when I saw what the final years and numbers were, I don't think they were in it at the end.
See, I'm skeptical of whether they were in it at all, only because they knew that the price point would be more than they wanted to play. And I don't have any intel on this. I'm just telling you what I believe.
But if it could have been like a 3-year deal, and then when it quickly was not a 3-year deal, I think the Braves are out.
Chuck, how many 3-year deals have the Braves given since Double-A's taken over?
Not really their thing.
They've given one to a free agent, and that was Will Smith, which borderline shocked me that Alex would spend $40 million on a very good reliever, but knowing how combustible and just how roller coaster that life of a reliever is. Again, maybe this will be the exception to the rule. But if they wanted to sign Ozuna, why wouldn't they have signed him already? What they're doing is doing what the Braves always do. They're circling, they're monitoring, they're waiting to see if the market comes back to them. I'm not telling you Marcell is a closed book here, but it's only open if Marcell and the market don't meet. In other words, if it is a 1-year, $22 million deal or a 2-year, $40 million deal, maybe they go a 3rd and 60, but I don't believe that is in the cards. But they don't have to tell us that. All the baseball insiders can say the Braves are still the leader in the clubhouse. This is one that I will believe it when I see it because the history is not there to support them offering a 3-year deal for $20 million apiece right now for Marcell. That's just not who they are. So they can say they're still in it, and they will be if the market comes all the way back to them. Otherwise, I'm sorry, Tim. You can get mad at me, but I think your anger is mistargeted, misappropriated, whatever you want to call it, because I'm just telling you the facts of the deal. I want to be wrong. I'd give Marcell 3 years and $60 million. I don't think they will.
There still is another move left, I believe, and it's a 1-year deal for a bat. And I don't know if that's after the DH gets announced, which is not going to happen, not for this year, I don't believe, or it's a 1-year $8 million or $12 million or $14, whoever is left. I think there's a 1-year deal that they're still hanging out there waiting because there might be like 3 guys, and A-Train's like, all right, whoever's last.
Chuck, there's nobody out there now. Like, unless you're going to bring Adam Duvall back for a year and $4 million or $3 million, go look at the free agent. There's not a legit bat unless you're going to trade for one, and that's not a one-year deal. If they're going to make a move for somebody, it's going to have to be under the headline of two things here. Number one, somebody's willing to eat some of the money on the couple of years left of whatever contract they're moving to the Braves, and it's going to be a move that the Braves aren't going to give up really high-profile prospects to get a year or two of somebody's contract. So
and it would be somebody like the Nelson Cruz thing was interesting. Eddie Rosario. There was some.
I don't think there's anybody left that they
not a whole lot.
So to Eddie, the emailer, and again, I hear your frustration. I do. The Braves' priority this offseason was very clear. Alex showed us in the first week of free agency when he paid $26 million for Morton and Smiley. That $26 million could have gone to Ozuna, or it could have gone to Jock Peterson and another bat, whoever went in free agency, whatever they would have decided. I think the Braves are still looking. I think they're vigorously looking for another bat, but it's got to fit into a small box. Are we not all on the same page? Freddie Freeman's going to make $27 to $30 million next year, and my gauge tells me closer to $30 million.
Probably.
Do you know how unlikely it is the Braves have Freddie at 30 and then another player plus $20 million on this roster? That was probably before a pandemic changed all the financials. Even more now. I don't think that's realistic at all. I want to be so wrong about it. I don't think that's real.
On the flip side, next year they'll be paying Ozzie and Ronald a combined $6 million.
Cost certainty's great.
So between Freddie, Ozzie, and Ronald, that's $36 million.
I know the financials.
So they can make it work.
No.
You can make anything work that they want.
They'd want to make it work. I'm telling you, they're not going to be able to do that because they have a fixed income. They have a one-bedroom apartment, and they want to leave some money at the end of the year to spend.
I know, but they're going to choose that. It's not going to be like there have been actual years where, going way back, like Minnesota was a poor franchise. Oakland was a poor they didn't have the money to go out and do that. This will be if the Braves choose not to.
Okay, but here's your problem. If their payroll sits, and I'm just guessing numbers here, for the next year or two, let's say it's $140 million. I don't know if that's right. Freddie at 30 and then another body at 25, take up a 30 of payroll with two players. That severely limits what Alex likes to do with flexibility each year. Yeah, call Liberty and tell them to do that.
So that's what I'm saying. They're choosing.
Well, the ownership's choosing, but aren't we past that point? We can't argue whether they should raise the payroll or not. But the reality
is, that's what I said. It's not like A-Train's there are store managers, whether it's pizza or grocery store or whatever, manager gets his or her bonus based on this math equation. The less you spend on labor, the more you get at the end of the month or year or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Same thing sort of going on here.
Well, I think Alice would love to spend.
Yes.
I think any GM would. But they have an NFL salary cap like situation where you guys have about 130. Now, maybe it was going to keep going up had we not gone through the situation last year with no fans and all that, but that's the reality.
I'm just saying it's not like it's Alex's money or Alex gets a bonus based off of this stuff. Alex spends what he's told. It's Denver or whoever we've decided the evil people or person is.
I don't know if it's evil, but
it's that someone is deciding and telling Alex, and then Alex goes out and spends.
You got stockholders and shares. And
it's not a choice at the local level.
So former Brave Mike Fultonevich has just inked a deal with the Rangers. 1 year, $2 million plus incentives. It's a major league guaranteed deal, so he will go to camp with a job with the Texas Rangers. So good for Fulte. So earlier in the show, we got into a discussion about how Tom Brady is winning against Father Time. Nobody else in sports has ever defeated Father Time. Brady is doing it. And I said maybe it's TB12 or it's Alex Guerrero or it's the avocado ice cream, which you were then trying to figure out the ingredients of the avocado ice cream. Adam Gillespie, our engineer, you have done the research. What have you come back with?
So it starts with avocados.
I got that part. I understood that.
Seems reasonable.
You get one ripe, soft avocado, throw it in a blender.
Okay.
Along with a half a cup of raw cashews.
So far, we're good.
Uh-oh. I got to pop up on my page.
Oh, jeez.
Some coconut meat.
What?
Yeah,
that's just a chunk of coconut. That's
coconut meat from young coconuts.
It's got to be young coconuts?
It's like sunflower meats. You know what it is.
Some dates. Make sure you pit those because you don't want the pits rolling around in the blender.
All right.
Some cocoa powder, raw, and some water. So it's basically just 6 ingredients. You throw them in the blender, blend them all together, and freeze them in the freezer.
If it works, then I want Matt Ryan starting the avocado ice cream tonight. If that's what it takes to make sure you can beat Father Time, then that's the case. Ice cream should never be started with something like avocado. There's so many right answers that avocado ice cream shouldn't be on the menu. It just shouldn't be even an option. There's a cookies and cream option. There's a.
Do you think that he has gone at it so diligently and consistently and so hard for 2 decades that, like, if he retires, do you think we're going to see him in 5 years and, like, he's 30 pounds heavier?
No, he's too vain. Too vain. I don't mean that as an insult. Him and his wife.
Hair's a little long in back.
Oh, he did that earlier. Don't you remember when he had the skater cut back in the day? It was awful. I don't know what he's going to look like in 5 years. He still might be playing the way he's going. But with the way we praise Brady for taking care of his body is sort of insulting. Like, you don't think Drew Brees takes care of his body or sleeps well or works out 5 days a week? Like, what is Brady doing that Drew, that Matt, that any of these older guys? Now, I know Ben Roethlisberger ain't doing it. I can look at him. But it's almost insulting to these other guys.
The one big difference is he's doing it for years and years longer. There was a receiver, some of you listening will remember, it's only been about 20 years. First-round pick at Ohio State, a guy named David Boston.
Oh, he looked like a machine.
Unbelievable. Like, you know what he looked like? He looked like Calvin Johnson about 5 years before Calvin.
He was yoked. Oh.
And so he goes out and plays for Arizona and played in the league for like 6-7 years. He was famous for his routine with essential oils and vitamins and his sleep and the massages and whatever else, and it lasted for David Boston for about, I don't know, half a decade. It's lasted for Tom Brady for 20 years.
Makes no sense. He's sleeping. So Brees is like, hell, I only slept 9 hours last night.
You're like, what are the Drew Brees isn't doing? No, everybody's doing some of the same stuff, but nobody's doing it as long.
That's my point, Chuck.
I don't know why.
It makes none of it adds up. Nothing of this, like in any walk of life. I get out of bed and I make a noise, and I don't look like an athlete, act like an athlete, or do it. He's been hit for 20 years. Actually, he probably started playing quarterback in high school, so he's been hit for 27 years.
Pretty close, yeah.
Got a break.
And he doesn't look worse for the wear. I can't figure it out to save my life. I'm not going to quit, though. I'm going to keep fighting to get to these answers. Investigative reports coming by Matt. All right, coming up next, we have a guy talk where we'll give you a little peek behind the scenes of what happened around these parts at Harrah's Cherokee that almost led one of our faithful friends to a quick exit from the casino. Well, yeah, I was going to call him a friend, but we can call him an acquaintance, a colleague of ours.
Former co-worker.
Who found himself on the outs.
Someone we could identify for authorities.
We might need to. You'll hear that story next.